everybody. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody just calls me Ciotti. You can call me whatever the hell you want. Today, we've got some plans. First plan is to figure out what's happening up here. Woo! Hold up. We're a little dark. Let's get a little brightness here. Come on. Yeah, thank you, Logitech. So in the wintertime, the sun bangs on this window here, and I have every single LED light that I own just banging away full bore right now. Can't compete. Can't compete with the sun. Go figure. Today, we are going to cover a bunch of ground. Got some new plans for 2020. Got some 1505's here that we're going to talk about. For anybody new, I've been saying for about a year that 1505 or 1504 or 1405 or 1406 are what I believe to be the best sized motors for 3-inch props. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I haven't flown these 1505's yet, but we'll talk about the difference of those versus my current favorite 3-inch props for 200-ish gram frames, which are 1306's. So we'll just kind of talk a little bit about the size of the motor, not necessarily the size, but the ratio of the height of a stator to the width of a stator. So we'll hit that in a bit. We're also going to talk a little bit about Mobula 6 versus newbie drone Acrobee Brushless. There is quite the price difference, and after watching Kebab's video, I don't think there's very much of a performance difference, and there's kind of a couple deal breakers on the newbie drone side. So yeah, I really love newbie drone, but I don't know. I think they might have put their foot in it this time. What else are we talking about? Oh, we're talking about the Screaming Goat. I'm using him for the giveaways when I spin the wheels, so I guess now we don't have to talk about the Screaming Goat anymore. Hopefully that clickbaited the shit out of you guys into coming on over here. Let me see. I forgot to fix the white balance too. Let's fix that real quick. There we go. All right, that's better. So, yeah, trying to get a little bit more organized for 2020 here as well. I've actually got a list of things to do and set up so that hopefully there aren't as many technical F-ups, but I think it's funny as hell. So I'll probably still screw up some more. Hopefully you guys will continue to laugh at me. I am cool with that. As long as somebody's laughing, it's all good. So let me just dig into it here. CiottiFPV is on YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook. Patreon link is down below. Instagram, Facebook, wherever, just type in CiottiFPV. I keep it the same wherever I can. Let's read some chat names and make you guys famous. If you don't know, the chat sits to the right-hand side of the video of this live stream here that replays. Some of these live streams are at like 800-900 like replays, so you guys are in this with me, man. Like, you guys are on when you ask questions, when you make comments, people see that down the road. So yeah, get active in the chat. I guess it's over here. No, maybe it's over here. I don't know how it works. Let's see. All right, cool. We've got Chris Hugman was the first, or it might be Human. Chris Hugman was the first in here. Then we had David Noose, Thomas Bird, Lead Sled, Sly Old Fox. It took me a second to figure that one out. Sly Old Fox, you're a new one. Welcome. Everybody that came over from Joshua's stream, welcome. My shirt's got a little secret on it. Somebody will figure it out. Engage FPV is here. Chad Bochenek, Mr. Sprinkles, Proton to Go, Pete.NL. Pete.NL. I can't figure out how to pronounce it, so maybe it's just supposed to be that. It's Blunty is here. Budget FPV is here. Jojo4. Supercell in the house. What's up, Billy? Cloud Chaser. Mr. Garcaneer. Steve FPV. Sean Hales in the house. EDM Society. Ooh, EDM Society. You got some music for us? We need that hot edit music. Great Golden Spoon in the house. Marcel Robert. OCD FPV. Vaughn Boylor with the longest YouTube name I've ever seen. Congratulations, OCD. Mr. Sprinkles again, Brian Chambers, Oh My Quad, that's a good name, I like that one. Bill Riffett, Beard and Hammer, Distorted FPV, Wout Van, woo, I must work for that one. Wout Van Wetswinkle, Wout Van Wetswinkle, there we go, got it. Jay Drones, Daryl Turner, Richard Warwick, Kyle K, Steve B, Mark Emerson, Humblebee FPV, Engage FPV, Michael Backstrom, Mr. Spat, that's a good one. Mr. Spat, you're new. Welcome. Make yourself right at home. Skadoosh, thanks for the pep talk, brother. Kyle K, Zachary Chafin, David Noose is here. David Noose has a bunch of the Patreons have like damn near full quads coming to them. I got a bunch of stuff shipped yesterday for the giveaways, and man, some of those boxes were thick. I'll give you guys a tip. It's all the guys that are on the $30 and up tier, because those tiers are in all 3 giveaways. So those guys are in 20 giveaways a month. Of course they're winning tons of stuff. And you can be too. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Distorted FPV, Miroslav Jankovic is here. Jojo4, Charlotte Frolinch, sorry. Jant347 FPV. OCD FPV again, EDM Society again, Beard and Hammer again. Love that name, Beard and Hammer. What's it mean? Tell me. Tell us. Brian Menard, EM1S1S, ESK Race, EBR FPV, Brian Maynard again, Kyle K, Wicked Sticks, Mark Emerson, Steve FPV, Sharp Pizza FPV. That's a cool one. Sharp Pizza FPV. I need to know what that means. Jan A, Mongo is in the house. Nabi is here. Skadoosh again. Squirts FPV, Wicked Sticks FPV, Off-Axis FPV, that's a cool one. Off-Axis, that's a good one. I dig that, man. With the GTR 349 question, we'll get to it. Thanks for tagging my name. If you guys want me to see your question, you need to tag at CiottiFPV. When you do that, it lights it up in orange for me. You can do that to anybody else. If you want to talk to somebody else and you want them to actually see your comment, do at and then their screen name. It'll guess it and you can just click it, and then it'll show up in orange for him. Polytheus FPV, thanks for the kind words. Who else do we have? Squints FPV, Mars FPV, Brian Maynard again, Richard Warwick again, Steve B, Supercell, Squints, Engage, Kyle K, KTMJ, the chat just did the thing. Fuck you. There it is. Doc Murdoch, Brian Maynard, Wout Van Winkle. Ah, damn it. I had it the first time. I'm not even going to try it anymore. You're just Wout from now on. Cloud Chaser, that's a good one. Pox is here. Slidefold, Mr. Sprinkles, Mr. Garkiner, retracting a message, taking a page out of oh man, who always one of my guys, one of my regulars always retracts messages. It's Nabi. Nabi always retracts messages. Mr. Splat, Vladdy B, Metal Mick is here. Distorted FPV, Brian Maynard, Oh My Quad FPV, Tannard, Slide Old Fox again, Kaylin Ryan, Mark Lauper, Steven Colts, Sly Play Mike. Are you guys figuring out that I do this every time and you're all just saying hello? I see how it's going. Stephen Coates, call me the micro legend. Thank you for the kind words, sir. Sly Play Mike 1, Jesse T, Jan A, Chan Wang, Rob Krieg, I think that's it. Adamus Prime, J Ant again, Woot again, OXI Vanisher, Colin Pinard, Pete and Dotnell, Pete dot, oh, I already got screwed up on this one. Tell me what it is. Pete.nl is Pete.nl. Is that it? Skadoosh again. Off-Axis FPV and love that name. Justin Slate. Old Prop Wash. That's a good one. Old Prop Wash. Yeah. Wout again. Murmur FPV. Puffy in the house. I haven't seen you in a while, Puffy. How you been? Junk88. Jack Russell FPV. Sean Hales again. All right. I think we're getting mostly duped now, and I'm pretty much at the bottom. Chris I. Adamus Prime. Omar Marcy. Let's see if YouTube does this stupid thing with the chat again. Oh, it didn't. Nice. Thank you, YouTube. Zach Cagley, Squints, Oh My Quad, Jason Connolly, better hurry, I'm at the bottom. Omar Macy, Nabi, Jack Russell, Wout again, Beard and Hammer, Nabi, Oh My Quad, Cloud Chaser, Metal Mick, Golden Spoon. Ooh, the great Golden Spoon. Perfect Shot, Mex, Chad Boknick, and Hefe FPV getting it the last second. First time, came over from JB. Good to have you, and all of you other folks who have not been here again. Or have not been here before, rather. Again, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody just calls me Ciotti because both my first and last names are impossible to pronounce from the spelling, so you might as well only have to pronounce one unpronounceable word. Shirt of the day, secret FPV message on the shirt. You got to figure it out. Again, if you want me to see your comment, you got to tag me. Let me show you what that looks like. So when you guys type at and then somebody's YouTube name, it shows up like this in orange. So that's how I'm going to be able to see your comment if you have a question. Also, if you want to do super chats, that's cool too. Those involve money, so I will always hammer those first. Super Deluxe chiming in. Haven't seen that name in my rip through of all the comments. Let me real quick just hit a couple of these comments to clear them out so that we get up to date, and then I'll hit my bullet points so that we don't forget anything as usual. What do we got here? So, again, only reading the questions that have me tagged, just so that I can condense the chat down and not spend the entire 2 hours just reading through the chat. David Noose, my same shirt, must want to give it away. So, David Noose referring to, thanks for the segue, David. Let's just jump over here and get this out of the way. A lot of folks, David Noose included, have been cool enough to hop on over to my Patreon and support me for as little as 10 cents a day. That's how I'm going to call it now. It's $3 a month. 10 cents a day, you can get on board. I use my Patreon as a dumping ground of sorts for all my wildest, wackiest thoughts, the deep dark holes of FPV, coupon codes, unreleased edits, all kinds of fun stuff. For the most part, if you get over there, you're going to buy the right parts, you're going to get coupon codes and probably save yourself 10 cents a day. So it's a good financial decision. There you go. From your financial advisor, CiottiFPV. So get on over there. Here's the page. Again, a lot of things that we do. We've got a bunch of giveaways that we do every single week, every Monday night. Unfortunately, if you're in the EU, you've got to cover shipping on those. And the last time I tried to ship over there, it was like 17 bucks for something small. So if you want to get in on it, awesome. But fair warning, any shipping outside the U.S., I'm going to ask you to help me out when you send me the address. And it's going to be whatever the shipping is. I'll go ship it, and I'll bring a receipt back, and whatever it was, it's kind of on you. So I'm assuming that you guys won't screw me over. Why would you? It's a couple bucks. So yeah, what David is referring to, though, is the goals. I just finally started using the goals here. We are 72 out of 100 patrons. When we hit 100, I'm going to give away an entire build. Built for me, by me, tuned by me, locked in, good to go. It'll probably be a 3-inch rig because I have one ready. I built Jamie, Little Stellar Fox, a rig. She realized that with it not being on the DJI system, she's not trying to carry around 2 sets of goggles all the time, so she actually gave it back to me. And I'm going to get it churched up and get it to one of you guys. So, yeah, that'll be fun. What David was referring to, though, is at 200. I think I can just click this button. Yeah, look at that. At 200 patrons, there's going to be another build, and I'm going to give you the shirt off my goddamn back. What do you think of that? I try to wear a different FPV or motorsports-inspired shirt. For those that don't know, motorsports was my hobby for the last 15 or so years before I found FPV. Best way to describe the financial situation of motorsports as a hobby is that if you want to make $1 million in motorsports, the only way to do it is to start with $2 million first. And that's one of the main reasons I got out of it. It's just a very, very expensive hobby. Very fun, very rewarding, but very, very expensive. It makes FPV seem like Fisher Price. So, yeah, you'll get the shirt off my back. When I hit 200, well, when I notice that I've hit 200, because those are two totally different things, I will give you the shirt off my back as well as a build. And then if we really go ham and get to 500, I will either fly to you. We'll do a giveaway. The winner, I will either fly to you or I will pay for you to fly to me. If you fly to me, you got to cover the Airbnb. I don't really have room to put you up here. But I will pay for your plane ticket to come to me for a weekend. We will fly, we will build, we will smash, we will hang out, we will drink, have a good old time. That's a hell of a stretch. 500 is a lot of patrons. But I'm seeing that like Joshua has well over 1,000, so technically I guess it's a possibility. If we get there, I'll have a blast with it. Plans for 2020. So that's the big thing that I want to hit on here. Well, no, hold on. Let me rip through the rest of these comments. Distorted FPV asks, is that you flying? Yep, absolutely. I always open the streams with some of my flight footage, and then in the stream we're going to do a pilot spotlight, and that's where I want to throw the spotlight on an awesome pilot that I personally watch, who I think deserves more subscribers, deserves more folks watching them, because there's something about their style, or they're just flat out really, really good. And I think that a big part of FPV is watching others to get new ideas, to keep it fresh and kind of advance as a pilot. So we'll talk about that in a bit. Kyle K asking, don't you have a Mac? What is it doing in the background? I have an 11-year-old Mac. That's why it struggles. I do have a much newer, like 5 or so year old 17-inch laptop, the Pro laptop right over here, that I've been working slowly to get up to speed so I can replace this tower. As you can probably expect, after 11 years, there's a lot of stuff on this tower that's buried 10 levels deep, that when I switch, I know I'm going to miss. So I'm really like methodically trying to go through and find all that nonsense. Supercell asks, are you sponsored by T-Motor now? I wish. I made that video for them in exchange for the 1507 prototypes that they sent me. What else do we have? Off Axis talking about the GTR R349 not getting OSD even with Betaflight saying that it's ready and the tabs are right. That's an interesting one, Off Axis. So, I mean, right off the top of my head, make sure that the video out from the camera isn't going directly into the VTX. Other than that, what can cause, the only thing I've ever seen to cause OSD to go away when it's wired properly, when your cam is wired to the FC and then the FC is wired to the VTX, is either the OSD chip has failed. That could definitely happen. Or if it hasn't failed, and there's really kind of no way to test that, to be honest with you. The other thing that could be happening is you could have, so my question to you is, do you have a lot of video noise? If you have enough video noise and the grounds for the camera and the VTX are far enough apart in the circuit, I have seen the OSD almost completely go away. Usually you'll get kind of flickers of it, but it will almost be fully invisible. So what I would say is check the video wire out from the camera, make sure it's not going straight to the VTX. As long as it's going to the flight controller, take your camera ground, the ground wire coming out of the camera, and take your VTX ground wire and put them on the same pad. If you do that, that's going to tell you, and if you still don't have the OSD, that's going to eliminate that possibility. And at that point, I think the OSD chip is just dead, like which I said does happen. I've had it happen once. So there you go. There's your first level troubleshoot. If that doesn't do it, jump over to my Patreon, and like I said, for 10 cents a day, you can get in there. The messages that I get on Patreon take priority over everything. The people over there are cool enough to support me, and the least I can do is help you guys out. You're paying me 10 cents a day. I'm working for you. Hit me with questions, and we'll get it knocked out. Tech support, build planning, build advice. My rig is flying like ass. My PID tune is screwed up. All that kind of stuff. I've been banging my head into micro tuning and building and everything up and down for 2.5 years, and 5-inch mini quad stuff for coming up on 2 years. So pretty decent resource. I've got the confidence of Joshua Bardwell, which says a lot, right? Because that dude is a ninja. Nabi is 5 away from 300 subs. So Nabi, post like sub to me real quick, and then you guys click Nabi FPV's thing and get him that 5 subs. Let's get him up to 300. What else do we have? Looking for my name in orange. Here we go. Thomas Bird Jr., are you in the loop on the KISS 2.5-inch? I am now, Thomas. I watched Liv U's video, and I mean, it flies good, but so do Betaflight 2.5-inch rigs. There was nothing in that video that flew any better than any of my 3-inch or 2.5-inch Betaflight rigs. And the experience that I've had with KISS is that, yes, it has a different feel to it, for sure, but I put 2 months into flying only KISS and Flight 1, probably about 6 months ago over the summer. I flew 5 to 10 batteries a day every single day for those 2 months. And in the end, I didn't think either one of them did anything better than Betaflight. Yes, they're different, for sure. Absolutely no questions asked, they are different. But I just don't think that they're better. And quite frankly, I think that Betaflight is better. A big part of that feel, I believe, in my opinion, with KISS and Flight 1 is lower eye gain. The one thing that a lot of people that fly KISS and Flight 1 Falco X say about Betaflight is it seems robotic. And what they mean by that is when Betaflight gets to center and you come off of the sticks, it's got a lot of eye gain to really lock it into place. This is why a lot of Betaflight, like windy footage, is really, really good. And in my opinion, KISS and Flight 1 tend to struggle a little bit with windy conditions. And I've been farting around with Betaflight 4.1 dropping the eye gains down, and all of a sudden the feel of KISS and Flight 1 is starting to kind of show itself. So that's kind of what I think. Eye gain, when it winds up, it wants to hold the rig in a specific position in space. And when you start to add set point in, roll, pitch, yaw, the eye term can actually hold on so hard that it doesn't want to let go, and then it'll just kind of snap a tiny little bit when it does let go. That's my opinion. I don't know if that's actually going on. It's very hard to see that in black box logs, but yeah, other than the feel thing, I think Betaflight does everything else better, especially now with RPM filters. They are kind of a game changer in my opinion. And some of the other stuff that Betaflight has to handle very specific problems in the tune mean that you don't have to compromise with everything. I really did dig KISS, but the biggest problem I had with it is it's like Betaflight a year and a half ago, where you can only use P, I, and D to tune out all of these bad behaviors: prop wash, bobbles, throttle lift wiggles, eye term winding up, things like that. Bounce back. Bounce back was really the biggest problem for me. Betaflight in the last year or so has introduced very specific things to handle bad behaviors. Eye term rotation, eye term relax, the feed forward, D-min, the gain and the advance. These things all target specific problems so that you can fix those problems with those features, and then you can use the PID tune to just set the way the rig feels. And that freedom is something that I had really taken for granted. And when I was flying KISS and Flight 1, I really missed those things. So that was kind of interesting. No wrong answers. Whatever you fly, awesome. If you connect better with KISS, fly KISS. If you connect better with Flight 1, fly Flight 1. They are all phenomenal. Personally, I think one is better, and I fly better with Betaflight. So there you go. I can't believe my voice is starting to go already. Hopefully that'll help. All right. Remote ID equals burner phone. Nice. All right, so here's Beard and Hammer's question. Got to it. Okay. First 2-inch frame to build over time. Diatone GTR 249 frame. What's a good setup on the cheap? Just needed to fly decent. Noob at FPV. So Beard and Hammer. Down here in my description are the parts and pieces that I use and trust. Fair warning, there are affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything. You click the link and I make a couple bucks, and I pour all that money back into the hobby to do reviews and all kinds of other nonsense. So if you use some of those affiliate links and just look at the items that I use, you're going to get, that's it, really. That's going to be your build list down there. I choose parts, to be honest with you, primarily on durability and cost. Those are really the two big things for me. I want them to last when I crash really hard, because I do that a lot. And I want them to be cheap so that I can replace them, because I break a lot of shit. So the stuff you see down below are going to be my suggestions. For a 2-inch, I don't think I have motors down there that are going to work for you. My recommendation at the moment is the Rotor Riot DAB motors, 1104 7500s. I've had great experience with those on 2-inch props with 3S. Ton of RPM, good amount of power, and they keep the ends of the arms nice and light because 1104 is usually like a 5 or so gram motor. So that'd be my suggestions on the motor end of things. The rest of the build is the same. Same receiver as any other micro build, same VTX, same ESC, same flight controller. So there you go. And if you want to get more into detail on it, again, hit the Patreon. We'll talk. Or just hit me on Facebook or Instagram. I try to show as many people love as I can. But like I said, Patreon comes first because those folks are putting their money where their mouth is and supporting me. And that's awesome. So, Cloud Chaser says, is it orange? It's been so long. I hate when I get backed up on the chat because I don't know what that's in reference to. So, Cloud Chaser, hit me with another comment with what's orange because I want to know. I'm very curious. Oh my God, Lewis P. Floyd is... That's how you do it, Lewis P. Floyd. That's it. Sharp Pizza FPV says that he's got the Squirt V2 with Mamba 1408, 4000 kV motors. What motors can I replace them with that won't be so notchy? Amazing question, Sharp Pizza. You said it's a Squirt V2. That's a Cinewhoop, right? Man, I am behind the times. Looking it up. Yeah, it's a Cinewhoop. So, with a Cinewhoop, you don't need a durable motor because the ducts, in theory, are going to take all of the bashing. So, what you want is the T-Motor 1507, which is what I was flying on an Acrobee in the video that was up when I started the stream, or the Zing 1507's. Those two motors are a whole, or the if you're gonna run 6S, which I don't necessarily know if I recommend, but if you are gonna run 6S, the rat fucker motors, the Ethics rat faced shipbag motors. What are they called? Cinerat? I don't know. Ethics makes a 1507. That's the one you want if you're gonna run 6S. The T-Motor and the Zing 1507s are phenomenal. I've spent a good amount of time with both of them. They are both very fragile on a 250 plus gram rig that doesn't have guards. Basically, they're using a 2mm motor shaft, which is fine, like sub 200 gram all up weight, but above 200 grams, that is just not enough strength on the motor shaft. If you get to my channel with one of the buttons somewhere, I've got a video called Destroying a Set of Zing 1507s in One Day. 4 batteries it took me to completely bend 2 of those bells. And I put every single crash in that edit. So you will literally get to see each and every crash that went into that. I'll spoil the surprise for you. There were no big ones. There was not a single crash that I expected the motor bells to be bent. And quite honestly, the last crash that bent 2 of the motors on the left side that you'll see at the very end of the video, where I kind of bump into the side of the building, it was not a big crash. The other thing you'll notice is the jello gets worse and worse and worse as that edit goes along. As they get bent more and more and more, the jello gets worse and worse. So yeah, not a motor that I would recommend for any kind of a basher rig, or a, for the most part, like any rig that doesn't have prop guards to take the hits. But I guess if you only fly over grass or you just don't crash, they'd be fine on a non-ducted rig. Other than the durability, they're fucking great. They're going to give you a lot better throttle resolution versus those 1408s. Motors with a taller stator, a 07, 08 stator, they make their power on the top of the throttle range, so they're kind of more for racing. The motors with more stator width and less stator height, those are going to give you better throttle resolution in the middle and the bottom of the throttle range. That is what I prefer. I do not race. I fly freestyle. I want to be able to sit an inch off of the ground and with the throttle go from an inch to an inch and a half. I don't want to just bury the nose in the ground and go 140 miles an hour. That's not my thing. If it's your thing, that's awesome. 1408s all day long for that. But for freestyle, if you want a freestyle rig that performs more like a 5-inch rig, you want to get motors that are wider and less tall. Like these Betaflight 1505's. I think I'm caught up on the chat, and we can talk about these real quick. Let me just make sure. Right. Oh, full screen, please. Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? We're off to a good start. All right, hold on. Couple more quick ones. Off Axis says, bought the Easy EV 200Ds, but they're super uncomfortable on my face. That sucks. And Big Nose, any tips to make it better? Foam, ski goggles mod. The only thing I can think of is to check out the Newbie Drone foam. The Newbie Drone foam is made of that material that women's, those little egg-looking bastards, the little foam egg things that they put on their face. It's made of that foam. It's like a really nice, like, I don't want to say tight is a word, but it's soft, but it's thick. That's the thing. It's nice and thick. So I think that might work. I'll bet you they don't have a specific version of it for the EV200Ds, but they have a couple different versions of it. So I would just kind of like look and see if one's close enough, and you can probably get it to work. Other than that, just get DIY with it, man. Just figure out a way to make like maybe wedges on the sides here to just kind of push them out from your face a little bit. It's hard, man. If the frame of the goggles is not right for your face, it's really tough, because no matter what you do, you're gonna fight, like, multiple things are gonna go on, right? If you push it up far enough for your nose, now you're gonna get light leaks, and now you got to start to like figure out how to pad it where the light leak is. It's just gonna be a pain in the ass. But that's my thought. The Newbie Drone foam is nice and thick. I would definitely check that out. And yeah, just get DIY with it, man. Just start chopping it up, figuring it out. All right. Jesse T is asking, do you run arm bumpers on any of your micros? I do, don't, sometimes, other times. My new thing is I only run them on the front, because the front arm ends are the ones that I smash the most, and I don't smash them. I don't really ruin them smashing them. I ruin them scraping them on the ground all the time. With micros, one of the secret sort of cheat codes, because of the fact that they don't cover ground like a bigger rig, is to fly really low to the ground. The lower you are to the ground, the more sense of speed there is. As you get lower, the ground fills more of the frame, right? So like as your quad gets lower, the ground is going to start to fill like damn near half of the frame, and it's going to be whizzing by really fast. So you can give a really nice sense of speed when you're trying to get from one thing to the next with a micro by flying really low, but the throttle resolution is very challenging with micros. That is the weak link, in my opinion. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. If it's a rig that's not going to be a basher, I don't run them at all, because weight on the ends of the arms is the worst possible place for it to be. And if you can remove even like a gram, or sometimes even like a half a gram from the end of the arms, you will feel that. The Rotor Riot skids for 5-inch rigs weigh 2.5 grams. So we're talking about 30-ish gram motors, and then you're adding 2.5 grams. The difference between running 4 of those and not running them is unbelievable. I love those skids because it's super fun to skid around, but the performance increase by removing them is just too much for me to actually run them, unfortunately. So I've got like a big bag. If you guys want any of them, let me know. I've got a big bag of those skids that I'll never use again. But from what I just told you, you probably don't want them either. All right, cool. Woot with a really interesting question. And I'm really glad that you asked this, Woot. What can I do to grow my channel? So this is going to be a tangent that is probably going to go on for 10 minutes. So fair warning, I'm going to get a drink, because this is a question I haven't been asked yet, and I've had a YouTube channel up for 12 years. So hold up. Charlotte got it. Charlotte got the shirt joke. Well, she's the first person I saw that got the shirt joke. He's the first person I saw. Sorry, Charlotte. Yeah, one of the base principles of the Miata is to keep it simple, stupid. Simple car, seats and a steering wheel, lightweight. Okay, what can I do to grow my channel? My experience has been this. 2 years, that in 2.5 years that I've been into FPV, my YouTube channel, which has been around for 12 years, with 50 plus actual edits on it. Like if you go to my channel and go to all uploads and start scrolling down, you'll see 10 years of motorsports shit and legit edits. So in the early 2000s, I graduated from the College of New Jersey with a degree in TV radio. Back then, digital video editing was just starting out. It was like version 1, I believe, of Adobe Premiere. When I got out, I thought that's what I was going to do with myself. I was a TV radio major, like I said. Thought that's what I was going to do. Drove it into the ground. Never wanted to do it ever again. Just complete burnout from just doing edits on edits on edits on edits. Tabled video for a while. Got into motorsports. I picked up an interest in shooting stills, but I would always shoot motion along with the stills and then do edits to whatever I was into at the time. Drag racing, then autocross, then ripping the mountains. Yeah, where's the echo? I fixed the echo, Sean. All I had to do was change the delay. So over the course of those 12 years in uploading these edits to YouTube, I wanted to try to get the stuff out there. Like, I was putting a lot of time into these edits. I wanted more people to see them. So I would post them on all the relevant boards that I could find. You know, back then it was message boards, so I'd post them all over the different message boards, all over Facebook, anywhere I could. Just post the links everywhere. And I got to a whopping 100 or so subscribers in those 12, or, well, no, I guess that would be about a 10-year period, right? Then I picked up FPV. So, well, before we go there, cars are kind of an established hobby, right? Like, it's been around forever. It's not new. It's not fresh. And I think that had a lot to do with it, right? It's very oversaturated. 2.5 years ago, I get into FPV. Much newer, fresher, more exciting hobby. Growing like crazy 2.5 years ago. So I hit it hard again. Started making edits. Flew micros, 10 to 20 batteries a day, every single day for many, many months in a row. One of the beautiful things about micros is you can actually do that. I would come home from work, grab my batteries, go on my little patio that we had in our apartment at the time, and just rip around the parking lot with 110 gram micros. No worries about killing anyone or bashing anybody's window, blah, 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 blah. Tons of stick time, get better as a pilot. People start to actually watch my stuff. Oh, cool. 200, 300. I got probably to probably 300-ish. And then came Quad Camp Atlanta, which was coming up on 2 years ago, I guess. Whatever. At Quad Camp Atlanta, as everything was closing down. So that's where I met Tommy, Drew, Joshua, Cricket, DJ, and I think that's it. So that's where I met a lot of those guys. They were all kind of interested. But back then, micros were still like really on the down low. Those guys were like, what the hell's going on with this guy? It's got like 4 different micro builds over here. At the end of the event, they decided they were going to take one of the little 2 inches and try to do a power loop through these 2 folding tables. Most of you guys have probably seen this. It's when you hit my channel, I guess it's over here. It's the video that automatically plays for you. And a bunch of them tried. Nobody could get it. Drew comes running over like, oh, you have all those micros, right? Come on, try it. Peer pressure. Tried it a couple times, nailed it. Then jokingly said like, hey, I'll Matty it too. And then did that as well. And when I got home, started working on the edit. Before I could get my edit done, Joshua finished up his edit. And that was something that essentially overnight, I went from like 300-ish to 1,000. So the first thing that I have to say is try to get linked in with people that have an audience, right? And I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? But just for the sake of saying it, and this has been my experience, that's a hell of a kick in the ass. I've been trying to do that already with like pilot spotlights. I don't have that big of an audience, but I have somewhat of an audience. So I've been trying to pay that forward as much as I can. I can't do it for everybody, obviously, but if your piloting skills are like awesome and you get your channel in front of me, there's a very good chance that you'll be on the pilot spotlight. I'm doing it 8 times a month, minimum of 8 times a month. So if piloting is your thing, that's going to be a really good way to kind of get in the door. The rest of how to get people to watch your channel is just work your ass off. Specifically if you're not focusing on becoming a really good pilot. And I think there's actually a vacuum for, I really do feel like the vacuum of FPV videos is everything and anything outside of piloting. Everybody wants to be a good pilot. That makes sense. It's fun as hell. It seems to be the easiest way to get views and get famous and all that shit. But there aren't a lot of people that, like, I can't think of anybody who makes content on doing extremely clean or good looking or like steampunk inspired, right? Or like weird builds. That would be really cool. I would love to see that. Or somebody that there are a couple folks that do it, but I think there's something to be said for more technical testing. Joshua does a good amount of testing, but I think we can go Mute FPV also does it. But I think there's a vacuum there as well. So that's kind of the other thing, right? So one of the only reasons why anybody knows who I am is that I had a niche within a niche within a niche, right? In micros. If I'd been a 5-inch dude at Quad Camp Atlanta, there were 30 plus other 5-inch dudes there, many of which were better pilots than me. I would have just been in the crowd, just an invisible face in the crowd, right? So that's why I'm kind of talking about where, like, if you really do want to get views and you don't think it's going to be for piloting, figure out what else you love in this hobby. And that's also a big part of it, right? Like, I do the things that I love and make content about them versus doing the things that I think you guys are going to want to see, to be totally honest with you. I love you guys, but it's all about me. And or doing the things that I think are going to get me views, to be honest. Like every once in a while I'll throw some clickbait into a title if I remember to do it, but other than that, like, I'm doing me, to use the parlance of our times, I guess. 10 points for the first person that figures out what, it won't be hard, but what movie that's from. And I think that's really important. Like, doing what you love comes out in everything, right? Like, comes out in the quality of your work, in your demeanor, in just everything. And I think that's so important. So yeah, that's really my advice, man. Just figure out what you love, do it a lot. That's the big part of it. That's the other huge part of it. It's just work. You just have to put the time in. There is not a single famous, whatever the hell it's called, pilot. Let's say this. There's not a single pilot with more than 1,000 subs that hasn't worked their ass off. And quite frankly, put more time in than pretty much everybody else that's below 1,000. And you know, it's different for each, like, little discipline, right? Each little niche, but it's making content. It's getting yourself out there. It's posting and helping other people. You know, it's just doing the right thing, and just being a member of the community, and just that people notice that stuff. You know, like they really do. The bigger forums, those guys have analytics on those forums that literally show them who posts the most. I think it can even look at, like, the amount of text in the post, so it's not just like, you know, you can't just go on there and spam it and come up to the top of their list. Like, they know that, like, the admins know that, they know, they recognize that stuff, and we all notice it too, right? Like, if I ask a question on a board and somebody answers that question for me, first of all, I friend them, because if they're willing to help me out, they're a cool person, right? Just in general, like, if you're willing to help someone out and spend your time, I think that means you're a super cool dude, and that's who I want to be friends with, and surround myself with. So that's what you got to do. And what's cool about it is it's fucking awesome. Like, I know that it's a very easy trap to fall into, to just say, well, you know, I don't make a difference or whatever. Somebody else will answer it. But don't do that. Like, help people out. Type more than you think you should. Something I've been talking about lately, if somebody asks What motors should I get? Please, guys, please, please, please don't. Okay. You've got one 3-inch build, let's say, on 1408s. You just spent $200 on it. Somebody comes and asks, hey, what motor should I buy for a 3-inch rig? Please, 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 don't reply and say, definitely buy so-and-so 1408s, they're the best. Please, please, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. At the very least, if you're going to say that, put in parentheses, in fairness, I only have one rig that has these motors, but I love it. That's totally fine. Like, but just say that, right? Because when you were new, every single one of you that I'm pointing at, when you were new and you went onto a forum and asked that question and somebody answered that question, you didn't immediately think, oh, is this guy full of shit, right? You thought, oh, okay, well, that's what I should buy because this guy answered it like very confidently. So type more, please, guys, type more. It's so much more helpful, and people notice that shit, right? Like when I make any kind of a recommendation, I try to put in there like my experience, my background, and like what I've compared the stuff to. And when you do that, the person reading it understands, oh shit, okay, this guy is much more of an authority. I'm going to listen to them. If you're not at that point yet, that's okay. If you haven't tested 10 different motors on 3-inch rigs, that's okay. But say that. Your opinion still does matter. If you've bought one rig and you love it, and that's your opinion and that's what you type, that's awesome. That's very important because that noob, they could very well have the same experience versus somebody else that comes in, hey, the first rig that I bought was this other one and it sucks. That's also super important, right? So the noobs are gonna, or just the people asking the questions, they're gonna see that, right? And that's what's going to really help us to. So one of the biggest problems with micros is that we haven't had this like 5-year long R&D cycle that 5-inch mini quads have. So we need to do this. Like we all need to consciously do this shit to get the hive mind Borg brain going on micros so that we can actually get them flying better and get them flying as good as a full-size 5-inch mini quad. And I am convinced that we can, but it's not going to happen overnight unless we do this shit, unless we work our asses off, all of us, to kind of do it. So what do you guys want? Do you guys want it to happen quicker, or do you guys want it to take forever? If you want it to take forever, screw it. Don't answer anybody's questions. Just type one-word answers. It's all good. If you want it to happen quick, like I do, take the extra time. Take 3 more seconds to type a little bit more, and I promise you guys that our development cycle will explode, as it already has been. We're already starting to see this, right, with the toothpick revolution and everything that Kebab's done. Kebab's channel, or not channel, his Facebook page is amazing. I think it's just like CiottiFPV. There are a ton of very knowledgeable toothpick folks in there. So that's a perfect example of, like, you know, just hit it hard, get a bunch of people looking at it, get a bunch of brains working on it, and the tech will explode. I'm going to leave it there. That was a pretty... Good God, that was way longer of a rant than I thought, but awesome question. Love that you asked it. I'm sure a lot of people have asked the same thing. Saturation is a bitch. Fair warning. It is very saturated. You got to have something that sets you apart, to be totally honest with you. You just do. There's too much noise. You can do a lot by just hammering and hammering and hammering and put your head down, but I'm going to tell you straight up, to really get any kind of a foothold, in my opinion, there's got to be something unique about you. More recently, actually, I'll end it with this. More recently, my growth has been due to like these streams, right, and Patreon to some extent. But for 2+ years, I didn't put like weekly content up, and in the last like month and a half of putting 2 to 3 to 4 times a week content up, I've gone from about 1,000 to I think I'm at like 2,500 now. So yeah, content is huge. Just getting your face out there over and over and over again is huge, but it's not everything. So there you go. I will leave it there. Got some. Well, hold on. Let me hit this real quick. Oh! Before I forget. Bill McCoy and Cole Hatley, if you're out there, message me on Patreon. You guys won, and I don't have your addresses to send you your stuff. So hit me up. All right, cool. I was sure I was going to forget that. I can't believe I remembered. A couple more questions, a couple of super chats. You guys are awesome. I see some crazy numbers in there. All right. Charlotte got the Kiss t-shirt reference. Awesome. Doc Murdoch would like to send me something. Needs a mailing address. Doc, I think I'm 99% sure you're a patron. Hit me up on Patreon or anywhere for that matter. Just message me anywhere and ask me for my address. I'll gladly give it to you. Zing 1404's Chan Wang asks, I have not flown them, but 1404 is a great size. My preferred size for 2.5-inch 3-blade props is 1304. This is an RCX 1304, which is $8 a motor, which is my favorite thing about them because you can bash the living shit out of them. Not only are they very strong, but you can bash the hell out of them without feeling bad because they're so cheap. 1404 will be even better than those because it has a little bit more stator width. So I would give them the thumbs up. The only thing I don't like about the iFlight motors is they're a little heavy. Those iFlight 1404s are probably about 2 grams heavier than these RCX 1304s. I would take the weight savings. The 1304 on a 2.5-inch prop, it's got plenty of chutzpah. I will totally take the weight savings on a rig that's that small. What I wouldn't recommend is you run those 1404s on a tri-blade 3-inch rig. I can tell you that in my experience, that's not enough motor. You need a little bit more ass to really boss a 3-inch prop around. When I say boss the prop around, what I mean is that the error correction loop, the PID loop, is running at thousands of cycles, right? 4K, 8K, whatever you have it set at. What it's going to do is it's going to speed up and slow the propeller down very, very, very quickly. And to do that accurately and effectively, you got to have enough stator width. Think of stator width as taking the lug nuts off on your car, and you can't get them off. You're not strong enough with the stupid little the little lug nut wrench in the trunk. Your buddy comes with a big long tube. You slide a tube over the little wrench to make a big ass long lever, and you can crank those nuts off all day long. The stator width is the exact same deal. The more stator width, the more mechanical torque that you've got. It will literally make more torque just because of the fact that the stator is wider. When you go to a taller stator, you can draw more current to make more torque, but at the sacrifice of amps, battery life, down the rabbit hole we go. So I'm a much bigger fan of a wider motor with less stator height. And when you look at 5-inch motors, now when I refer to 5-inch stuff, basically what I'm referring to is perfection, right? Like the development cycle and where we're at with 5-inch rigs has the setups that are pretty much perfect. Like we've kind of seen 2306s and 2207s, kind of 2208s. Like those are the motor sizes. That's pretty much like set in stone at this point. We haven't done that yet with micros, but think about the size and the shape of a 2306, right? You don't have to think about it. I've got one right here. Look at the ratio of height to width on that, right? Very wide and not all that tall. Like a big old rectangle, right? Now, here's the new Betaflight 1505's. And you can probably see why I'm so excited, right? See how the ratio of height to width is roughly the same as a 2306? I think that's really important. Let me grab a 1306. Right now, 1306s are my favorite motors for 3-inch rigs because they're the right weight, in my opinion, and they have the right amount of power and efficiency. But I'll bet you these 1505s are even better. This is why I wish it was a 1504. I really wish there was a 1504 because I think that a 1504 would weigh the same as a 1306. This 1505 is like 3 grams heavier than this 1306. I believe that the extra 2 millimeters of mechanical torque will make up for that, and it'll actually be fine, and I'll love them. But yeah, see the difference there? Big, big, big difference in height versus width. I think that is something that we don't give enough credit, but soon enough I will know the answer. Well, I'll have a little bit better of an opinion. I will never know the answer, because there are too many goddamn variables in every single part of this hobby. Now, I think we are caught up-ish to the super chats. Off-axis, what about just putting the goggles around a full-face helmet and act like he's hardcore? There you go, man. Whatever works. We look like assholes anyway. Might as well look like an asshole with a helmet on. Euro, does the newbie drone fit Attitude V5? I have no idea. I don't actually like the newbie drone phone. It's too thick for me, and it pushes the goggles out so far that the outside edges go blurry. To be honest with you guys, if anybody stateside wants a set of newbie drone foam for fat sharks, hit me on Patreon. There you go. You got to be on Patreon to get the free newbie drone foam. Message me on Patreon. The first person to message me on Patreon that wants it, I'll send it to you. Last one, Paletheus FPV. Tarsier records video, but no goggle image. Could a bad VTX cause that? Absolutely, Paletheus. Here's what you do. Plug your goggles in. Get your goggles all fired up so that they're ready to go. Get your quad in your hands with your goggles on so that, like, get ready to plug it in because you're going to have to do it blind. And plug it in. If the VTX is working at all, something will happen in the goggles, right? It'll blip. It might just blip and go black, but something will happen in the goggles when you plug that in. If the VTX isn't totally off the reservation, on fire, just destroyed. If it does blip, now we can continue the troubleshoot. But that's going to be where we start the troubleshoot. If it does blip, now you want to start looking at, like, just take a big step back. Guys, whenever you're doing troubleshoots, take a big step back. That's the first thing that I always recommend, because it's so easy to go, oh, I think I know what this is, and then you're trying to figure out, like, this little part of the troubleshoot, and the real problem is over here somewhere, but you can't see this real problem because your blinders are on, and you think you know it's over here. So always take a big step back and go, all right, what's the stupidest thing it could possibly be? Oh, my battery was dead. I'm an idiot. Fine, fixed it. When you take this big step back, what I want you to look at is where, like, the path of the video. Look at your camera. Make sure the camera's powering up. Trace the video wire from the camera to the flight controller. Make sure everything's cool there. Trace it now from the flight. You know what I'm saying? Like, just take it very, very simple, one step at a time. And a lot of times when you do that, you'll find the problem. If you don't find the problem there, hit me up somewhere and we'll keep the troubleshoot going, because video troubleshoots are a pain in the ass and there's a lot of different things they could be. So try those couple things, and then if they don't work, hit me up and we'll figure it out. Super Deluxe with 20 bucks. Thank you so much, brother. He says, my Italian brethren, how's your mom's spaghetti? Hey, Kristen, can you get me one of those? Are you in here?
Yeah.
Can you get me one of the clear glasses that we got for Christmas?
Yeah.
Show you guys. I'll show you something Super Deluxe that'll make you laugh. Thanks again, brother. Very cool of you. Much appreciated. More fire for the Chaos Fund here. More testing. Jan A, CiottiFPV, maybe 3D print TPU guards to throw away after scraping the floor. Jan A, it's funny you say that. Today, so Brent from, thank you. Everybody say hi to Kristen. She's the best. She lets all this fun shit happen and doesn't leave me and punch me in the head too often.
No punching.
Here you go, Super. Let me get the focus going. Here you go, Super. Look at this shit. My parents got this for me. Oh, buddy. Us Dagos, man. All right, cool. Yeah, so Jan, I've become, over the last year-ish or so, kind of sort of friends with Brent from BMC 3D. If you don't know BMC 3D, you need to. They are the best TPU printing shop that we've got. Their stuff is, for a number of different reasons, just really, really good. Brain 3D stuff is great, but and Brian from Brain is a great guy, but in my opinion, Brent does it better. His prints have some real things that I like better. Things like things like his session mounts being front mount. You push the session in the front here, and then you run a battery strap here, and it can never fly out the side. Every side load mount that I've ever used, if I hit something and get the quad to spin, it will send the session right out the side. and a session laying in the grass is a scary thing and is an invisible thing. Brent also can, because of this design, he can add 2 millimeters to this for you so that you can slot a jello filter, ND filter in the front here, and it's fully protected. The side load mounts, some of them you can cram an ND filter in the front, but when you crash into the ground, it just shoots it right out the front, and it's just a $5 explosion of darkly colored glass all over the ground. So I've only broken one ND filter in these mounts, and I've been running these for well over a year. And the one that I broke was because it hit hard enough. It came down, this was actually Christmas Eve, it came down from about 10 stories like this, and it pushed this part of the TPU. So he puts little bumpers on the front, top, bottom, left, right. It came down so hard on this top bumper that it folded it into the ND filter and just broke the top of the ND filter completely. The GoPro was completely fine. There wasn't a scratch on the GoPro, but yeah, it hit real hard. I think it came down from about 10 stories. Yeah, it was a big one. So I've been talking to Brent about so Brent makes TPU arm guards that are very beefy, and I love how beefy they are because they last a long time, but they're also very heavy. These are about 2.5 grams each, which is what those skids weighed. I would much rather have these than the skids, to be honest with you, but I would also much rather have less than 2.5 extra grams on the ends of the arm. So a while ago, I asked him, and then I forgot to follow up, but I followed up this morning on him making pretty much exactly what you're saying, like frangible, kind of light as he can possibly make them, front arm guards, and then I'll just buy a bunch of them and just swap them out. So great minds think alike, J&A rather. Hopefully there'll be some available from Brent. If you guys really want to get that going, I think you could I don't know, message BMC3D on Facebook. I'll get back to you and just be like, hey, Ciotti was talking about lightweight arm guards. When are you gonna have them available? He's making them for me for the glide frame, which they'll also work on the flow ride and the floss style frames. But if you guys ask for it, he'll probably make it. He is a ninja when it comes to making those 3D CAD files. And if he gets a bunch of people saying, hey, I want it for the Source 1, I want it for the Dribs frame or something like that, at that point it becomes worth it for him to spend the hour or two that it takes him to make that design and print them out for you guys. So there you go. That's actually another really kind of part of my path, is that I just message people. Like when I got back from Quad Camp, I messaged all the guys, Tommy, Drew, all those guys, and they all got back to me. And people that I haven't met, Benoit Finke, I've messaged him, he gets back to me. Onigiri, Snake, a lot of the Australian people, message them, they get right back. I mean, we are a small enough community that you can do that shit. So take advantage of it. Like, message people. Don't just, here's the thing though, don't just message them, hey man, what's up? Like, they don't know you. Like, understand that they don't know you, and if you're gonna message them, it needs to be a message that like has some content to it. Like, hey man, at 4 minutes and 32 seconds in your video, in this so-and-so edit, you did a move and I just cannot figure out how to do it. Or, what, I don't know. But I think you guys know what I'm saying. Message them with something of value, not just like, hey, you want to be my friend? Because they get a lot of people doing that. Set yourself apart. Be unique. Be in a niche. Find your niche. It'll go really well. Zach Chafin says that he forgets who said it, but they said that you should just fly, and eventually someone will like you and like your channel. It takes time, nothing else but time. Enjoy it for what it is. Absolutely, Zachary, I absolutely agree with that. The only thing I will say, though, is, and I hear this a lot of you guys will say to me, like, oh, or to each other in the chat, like, oh, I suck as a pilot. It's not even worth it for me to make edits. But those of you who've been around have heard me say, fuck that a bunch of times now. And it's true. Fuck that. Look 2.5 years back on my channel. I flew like a complete baboon. But what's cool is there are other people that are at the same exact skill level as you are at that point who also fly like baboons, and they want to see other people that fly like baboons. Like, yeah, sure, it's fun to watch Drew and be like, holy hell, it's insane what's possible in this hobby. But it's also nice to have somebody that's somewhat similar to you so that you can like understand what they're doing among other things, right? Like to this day I watch Drew fly and there's some stuff that he does where I'm like I literally don't know how he like I do not know the stick commands that he put in to do that. And when you're new, that's probably like 99% his flying. So like, yeah, it's fun to watch him, but you're not learning shit because you're here and he's fucking way up there, right? So regardless of where you are in as a pilot or just with anything in the hobby or fuck at life, I guess too, there's somebody that's right there with you, man, and there's somebody that's a little bit better too, or there's somebody that's a little bit worse. There's always people that are around you that want to see your stuff. The trick is getting it in front of them, right? And that's what I don't have an answer for you because that's where a lot of the time and the work goes in. But absolutely, Zachary is so right. Fly, just fly as much as you possibly can. There's no cheat code that any of us that fly well can give you other than to put the time in for flying. For building and for a lot of this other stuff that you can do research, you can do reading more to learn about that. But with flying, it's just stick time. Unfortunately, the way that we fly, there's no analog anywhere. There's not a single first-person shooter that has the sticks set up the way that we do, or the sensitivity or anything, right? Like there's nothing that could prepare us for this. And that's why you just have to put the time in. There are different ways that you can put the time in that are better than others. The simulator, it was a big key for me. There were a bunch of months in a row where I said to myself, all right, half an hour minimum every single night in the sim. No questions asked, no excuses. That completely changed me as a pilot. Micros are huge to be doing this because you can fly them everywhere and anywhere. Tiny whoops are fantastic for locking in your roll, pitch, and yaw. One of the things I love the most about tiny whoops is they have no power, so they don't let you do all this throw and up and down kind of stuff. So they force you to spend your time on yaw and pitch and roll and more subtle things. Yeah, just not just if you only have a 5-inch rig, you're very limited, right? Because you have to get to a somewhat safe spot where nobody's going to call the cops, nobody's going to get mad at the noise. You're not going to kill someone by hitting them in the face at 80 miles an hour with a 600-gram, blender flying through the air with 12 very sharp knives on it, right? So yeah, do whatever you have to do, whatever your situation allows, right? If you've got if you've got 20 acres in your backyard and no neighbors, build 10 5-inch rigs and just hammer. But look at your situation. Look where you can fly. I am so stubborn that I will make my situation work. When I was working in Charleston, in Daniels Island, which is very, very populated, it was hard for me, but eventually I found a couple little tucked away spots where I could fly a lot and where I could get to them on my lunch break. So I would eat at my desk and then run out the door on my lunch break, drive to the spot as fast as I could, plug in. I wouldn't fly super, super, super hard where I would have to spend a lot of time retrieving. I would back myself off a little bit so that I could get 5 or 6 batteries in. Whereas when I would fly really hard at that spot, I would get 2 batteries in because the rest of the time would be retrieving the exploded rigs from God knows where. So just do whatever you have to do. Figure your situation out. Figure the easiest way to get a bunch of stick time in, and that's how you're going to grow as a pilot. In the process, do not stop having fun. It's kind of hard to not have fun because we're fucking flying, which is just inherently the greatest thing ever. But if you start to feel it not being fun, don't ignore that. That is where burnout starts, and that is where burnout will screw you and ruin a perfectly good hobby. I am very good at burning out on hobbies. I've gotten way too involved in a lot of different hobbies, photography, airsoft, motorsports, playing drums, There's probably a bunch more. And it's, I'm now 38 years old, and I'm finally able to, like, pick up on when it's starting to happen and have the self-control to go, hey, idiot, stop, take a break, like, be intelligent about this. Don't just keep mashing your head into it hoping that, oh, it'll be fine, I'll love it again tomorrow. You won't. So keep that in mind. Fly for fun. If it starts to become less fun, change it up, make a change, go from 5-inch to micros to tiny whoops to build a Beats class, whatever. Yeah, there you go. Just Josh FPV with $5 and a question. Hello, Ciotti. What would be a good brushless whoop with 1/2S power, working turtle mode, and a decently tough product? I think that's going to be the Mobula 6 or the new Beta Meteor. Unless you're willing to... All right. Hold off. Let me answer that in 1 second, because I do want to talk about Beta FPV brushless versus the Mobula 6. And that's going to answer that question. Ooh, Skadoosh says, go to events and meetups and shake hands. Thank you, Skadoosh. Okay, that's one of the things that I wanted to cover in the pilot spotlight. I have an LED light that's running out of battery. Hold up. Nah, it's good. I knew it wasn't going to last. All right. One of my LED lights flashes to tell you the battery's going low. All right. So Just Josh, thanks for the $5. Much appreciated. We're going to hammer your question in the product spotlight-ish section when we talk about the Mobula 6. Skadoosh with an awesome suggestion, as well as find local people too. Like, that's another big thing. Find local folks. If you don't have a local group, man, this sun is brutal. If you don't have a local group, make one. And we're going to talk about that too in the little pilot spotlight section. So hold off there. I saw one more insane super chat from somebody that I think might have some Christmas money, and that's cool. Where the hell? What happened here? Wow, I'm way behind on chat. Okay, I'm going to have to blast through this chat. 4:15 already. Okay. Here we go. Full speed ahead. Dusty Nuts for sale. Dusty Nuts with... I would love to see somebody challenge this, but hands down, the best YouTube name of all time. Dusty Nuts space the number 4 sale. Come on. Come on. If you think you got better than that, fucking bring it. Because Kristen's laughing back there. I mean... Dusty Nuts that are for sale? I don't know if would it be better with FPV at the end? No. I don't think so, right? Because Dusty Nuts for sale, you can get into any hobby with that. And anybody that sees it that's a cool human being is going to go ballistic and bananas and just freak out. 10 points, Dusty Nuts. With $49.99, dude, thank you so much. $49.99 will buy. When you guys do big ones, I like to kind of like make a pledge to you to buy something for the channel that we're going to work on. What's $50? Well, screw it. What's $50 that you guys want to see me review on the channel? That's how I pick stuff. Like I pick stuff that A, I'm interested in, but B, I think that you guys might actually want to see. So yeah, what do you guys want to see? If somebody posts something, tag me, tag at Ciotti, or I won't see it. What do you guys want to see that's $50-ish? If I'm also interested in it, that's what I'll get for us. What do you think about that? What other streamers doing that? Just this guy. Great Golden Spoon. How are micros in the wind? Live in the high desert. 5-inch can fight it enough to still fly. Can I spec 3-inch? Can I spec a 3-inch to perform similarly? Yes, you can, Jim. Great Golden Spoon. I think it's your real name, right, Jim? You can, but they will never not get pushed around as much. You can get them, especially now with the FPV filters. Great, especially now with the RPM filters. You can get a tune with enough P gain on a micro to where it won't bobble and get all angry in the wind. But a 50-mile-an-hour wind with a 3-inch micro, that micro is going to be stood up like this to try to fight off that wind. So not really. I mean, if you have like consistent 20-mile-an-hour wind, I mean, what's kind of fun though, I was flying micros in wind not too long ago, and at first I was like, this sucks. But then I realized, like, all right, let's not just say, oh, it sucks, and make excuses. Like, what can I do with this? So what I would do is this is one of the few times I actually found a line to run a line. I don't fly like that. I try to just explore. I try not to run the same line over and over again like some guys do to get it perfect. I just go and explore and look for stuff and try to make stuff happen as I'm exploring. What I started doing that was kind of fun is I would just like fly really low and just like, and as Marty from Fly Life calls it, he calls it riding the ski lift. So you ride the ski lift up to the top of a mountain when you're doing long range. You just leave the sticks alone, nice and efficient, and then you do all your flying on the way down. That's what I started to do. I would just ride the ski lift out, low to the ground, into the wind to get all the way out, and then I'd come flying, screaming back in the other direction. So when you have a tailwind, it's weird. It actually feels more like a 5-inch because it has more momentum. You just want to remember that it has momentum in the same direction. So it's a little bit different, but it's really fun because now you got to try to like figure out like, oh, what's all the fun stuff that I can do from all the way back there to here with the wind coming with me. Plus, you go like 80 miles an hour with a micro, which is just hysterically fun. So the tunes are totally there, but just keep in mind it's going to get bossed around by the wind. It's just going to get pushed around. Micros don't cover ground like 5-inch rigs unless you put 60 degrees of camera angle on them and just, do that. But none of us are really doing that, to my knowledge, that are flying freestyle. Puffy asks, do the Emax Avan 3-inch props fit? That is a really good question, Puffy. Very, very astute observation. The reason that is such a good question is that the 3-inch Avon props, I think the answer is going to be no, Puffy. So the Tommy's 1407 Brat motor had a very flat and a little bit wider than normal top, and what Emax did, much to my chagrin, on their 3-inch props, see that overhang there? See how much farther down the propeller face goes than the hub? Here's the hub, right? So Tommy's Brat motors, you couldn't run these props. That would hit the bell of the motor on the outside, and I can all but guarantee you that these are going to do the yep, same thing. So that's the exact same problem. Let me get the focus back. Macro. This is the exact same problem that Tommy's motors have. Let me get it just lined up so you guys can see the gap. Oh wait, now I get a little bit closer. See it? So they're hitting the bottoms of the blades are hitting the bell, and you can't get it all the way down. This is not flyable like this. Don't fly it with that gap there, ever. Don't ever fly anything with a gap there. Yeah, so you can't. Fortunately, there is a better prop than this, in my opinion, which is the Gemfan Wind Dancer 3028, and those will absolutely fit because they didn't do any of this wacky drop the blade profile down below the hub nonsense. So not the end of the world unless you've got 100 bags of, I guess, of the Avian 3-inch props. Good call, Puffy. Awesome. You've been, that's a really, really good question. That's a really good connection that you made there. Palethea says he gets the OSD but no image. So what that means is that your camera has either failed or is not getting power. So get your multimeter out, check the pads that your camera is being powered from. If those pads are showing 5 volt or whatever voltage you're sending to the camera, that means the camera has failed because that means the camera is getting power. If those pads are not showing any voltage out or they're showing like a low voltage, like 3 or 2 or 1 or something like that, then the regulator that those are on, maybe that's a 5 volt regulator, maybe it's a 3.3 volt regulator, that regulator has failed. So that's what's going on. That's how you troubleshoot video problems. You take a big step back and you just think about it step by step. Okay, here's the camera. Is the camera getting power? Where's the video going? Is the video getting there? Then what happens? Is the OSD chip, so just step by step by step, you just eliminate one by one by one, and that'll keep you from just hurling your quads at the wall when you've been trying to troubleshoot for 3 days and can't figure it out. But that's never happened to me. Never, never, never. Definitely not like multiple times. I've definitely not like specifically quit the hobby because of technical problems like that and then been talked back into it by my pilot friends. That's definitely never happened to me or all of you guys. What happened there? We were at 150 and then now it's 78. Was there did OBS glitch? Maybe this just didn't update. Strange. Whatever. I'm not here for the numbers. I'm here for each and every one of you to build awesome micros and get out there and fly a lot. All right. Then we've got Supercell. You buy the TP. Oh, nice deal, Billy. Oh well, no. I won't be able to get the the CAD files. But that's okay. I love supporting Brent. Brent's an awesome dude. If I do find some stuff though, I'll take you up on that for sure. That's right. Billy got a one of those Ender 3s. One of the things I did on the Patreon page is I caught that this crazy Banggood sale on the Ender 3. It was like, Billy, what was it? Like $180 or like $190 for an Ender 3 Pro. And I dumped that link into my Patreon, which pushed it out to the 70 plus people. And like 5 of them bought it. Like 5 people, I think, went and bought the that Ender, and I think Billy was one of them. So yeah. Okay. Like I said earlier, I think I said it earlier. I really try my best with the Patreon channel to make it worth it for you guys, so that for the whatever you're paying, you get that much value out of it a month. So that it's net neutral or some such. Billy says, hey, do you want me to be my friend? We're already friends. Jan A, with your technical skill, you could easily rock your own 3D printer. Yeah, that's true. But I do not have A, the space. B, I don't want to I could obviously make the space, but I don't necessarily want to sacrifice the space. The biggest thing, to be honest with you, though, is I know myself, and I know that 3D printing is its own hobby, and I struggle for enough time as it is for FPV, and I just don't want to introduce something else into my sphere that that I know I'm going to get obsessed with and spend way too much time with. I know myself, and I would rather support Brent, to be honest with you. I don't go through TPU that often either, to be honest. Like, I probably spend maybe $100 a year on TPU. Brent's stuff lasts. Like his front load mounts just don't fail. Like this one here is like a year and a half old, and yeah, it looks like hell, but it's still perfectly usable and works beautifully. So it would be nice to have at some point when Kristen and I become homeowners. I will absolutely get a 3D printer, because damn would it be handy to be able to print PTG and stuff like that for house projects. But while we're in 1,500 square foot and lower apartment living, I'm totally happy paying somebody else. Okay, we are still not caught up. We will never be caught up. It's Blondie says Giant Propeller Showdown. I have a stream from a month ago or so on my channel, breaking down all the 3-inch props. I've been wondering if you guys wanted to do a 5-inch prop version of that. I've been trying my best to stop to just hold on to the last of the 5-inch props that I fly and try to remember how I liked them and what were the things about them. If you guys want it, I'll do it. I'll do another prop breakdown and talk about all the 5-inch props I've ever flown and what I think of them. Distorted FPV asking, hey man, can you replace an ESC on Crazy Bee F4? I contacted Ishii and they said replace the ESC after other people have gotten... Wait, what? Oh, okay. They said, I think they said they would replace the ESC after other people... No. I don't know what you're saying at the end there, Distorted, but as long as... What I can say is, as long as the So you need to replace the ESC, as long as the flight controller has a way to send the motor signal out, right, through like either pads or plug header, then yeah, you can run any ESC. I have a feeling that why you're asking that is because that stack maybe has pins. Maybe the ESC is pinned to the flight controller, which, for the record, guys, if you're going to buy a quad or a flight controller or an ESC, check that they don't have pins. Pinning like physical pins that pin the ESC to the flight controller seems like a really good idea, but it is the worst possible idea ever. Those pins will break and your shit will fall out of the sky when they break. I have tried epoxying down below the pin header to get that to be strong. I've tried hard mounting everything. I've tried everything under the sun, and those pins eventually fail 100% of the time in my experience. So if you're stuck with the pins, technically you can solder to the pins, but what a goddamn nightmare. And to be really honest, a Talon F7 or F4 flight controller is like $30, and well worth it, in my opinion, to just buy one of those and not waste your time fucking around with the pins on, you know, a setup that's going to lock you in. Here's the other thing that's going to happen, right? It is going to eventually fail, and you're going to go, oh, well, it's cheaper to just replace this pinned flight controller or pinned ESC than it is to replace both of them. And then you're going to buy that replacement. The fucking replacement's going to fail. This definitely didn't happen to me a bunch of times in a row with HGLRC. For sure it didn't happen 2 years ago. I wouldn't want to talk bad about a company. Yeah. $200 into HGLRC for broken, just every time it happened. Like, oh, well, it's still cheaper for me to... They're just going to keep breaking. Just pull the ripcord now. If you're in the pin setup and it breaks, take the working one and sell the working one, because so look on Facebook Marketplace, because I'm saying this to... Oh, we're back up. I'm saying this to 157 people, and then usually these get rewatched for some strange reason, up to like 1,000. So in theory, there's about to be 1,000-ish people that hear this. Bail on the pins, or look on Facebook Marketplace. Hopefully somebody else bailed on them and they're selling the other piece that maybe you need. There you go. Revolution. We're going to make a revolution in pinned flight control and ESCs. Half of you guys are going to bail, and the other half are going to buy the cheap ones from the guys that bailed. We should start a goddamn support group for it. Somebody make a Facebook group called Pinned Flight Controller Stack Trade. If somebody does that and they do a good job with it, I'll put it everywhere. I'll put it on the Patreon. I'll mention it on the streams. $1 million idea right there. Who's going to do it first? Great Golden Spoon. Oh, okay. Just saying thanks. Thank you. Rotten Tomato. Rotten Tomato's got a good name there. He's got a good one going. But, I mean, nothing like Dusty Nuts. Come on. Dusty Nuts. You genius. Rotten Tomato would love to hear my thoughts on the B-Brain brushless group versus the Mobulus. Yes, we're going to get there. I'm almost caught up. Damn, come on, chat. Not chat, come on, stupid YouTube chat thing. For anybody that doesn't know, when I mention this on every single stream, let me show you guys. It is annoying. It's not just me being insane. Here, I'm gonna get this stuff out of the way so that it's super obvious. Look at this, right? So every time I get towards the bottom of the chat, watch what happens. Well, it's probably not going to do it because I just made it do it. But I read through your guys' stuff. I read through. I get towards the bottom, and now watch. Watch what happens. I hope it happens. Watch what happens. See it? Did you see the jump? So it does. Sometimes it'll do that jump like 5 pages down, and I'll lose and I'll have to scroll back up. So that's what's happening. Get your shit together, YouTube. Fix it. All right. Let me actually fly through these to, I say that I'm going to fly through the chats, and then you guys ask really good questions. You guys are the problem. It's not my problem. You guys ask really good questions that deserve to be talked about, and that's why it's 4:30, and we haven't done hardly anything that was on the agenda for the day, but hopefully you guys like this. I mean, there's 150, 80 of you willing to watch me rant and rave, so you can't hate it. I guess you like it. I'll keep doing it. Shit, till you tell me not to. Okay. Sean Hales has been waiting. Oh man, Sean, that sucks. Yeah, Sean Hales and I have been talking about his woes waiting for the best 5-inch frame available, in my opinion, which is the Apex. If you don't know, the Apex frame is made by Immersion RC. Not Immersion. Who's the Apex made by? Jesus. Why can't I think of it all of a sudden? It sounds just like Immersion RC, which always screws me up. Apex frame. It's Impulse, not Immersion. Impulse RC. And they are in Australia. And if you've been living under a rock, Australia is on fire. Global warming is real. And Australia is on fire. And... ooh, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Yeah, half the super chat money today will go to. There's a big group helping with the Australian wildfires. I am somewhat close with a couple of the pilots that are over there. Onijiri and I talk off and on. Nick Willard, Wild Willie, and I talk a lot. He's dating Harley Quinn, who's over there. Willard actually, Nick spends most of his time over there now. So yeah, we need to help those guys out, man. It's a fucking scary situation over there. The number, I just saw a statistic today, the California wildfires that we're all very familiar with. Although wait, this is the EU stream, so you guys are actually probably more familiar with it. But for the US folks, the California wildfires were like 1.1 something million acres or billion acres, some crazy number. It was 1.1. So far, the Australian fires have been like 20, whatever the measurement is. So it's scary shit. It's bad news. So yeah, half the super chats from today are going to go to whatever that big group is that is helping to try to save Australia and, quite frankly, the world. Because if all the trees burn down, all we'll have is the algae to make oxygen, and they won't do enough. So there's that. Pile of Carbon says A+ ranting and rambling. Hell yeah. It's at least one person that digs it. Nabi flew acro for the first time today. It's way better than angle mode. He can never fly angle again. That's pretty much how it works, Nabi. Good job getting there. Sean's still waiting on his Apex frame. Ordered it in December 11th from Impulse. Whole country's on fire. Yep. Okay. Last few. If I missed some of these, I'm sorry, but we gotta get rolling. Great Golden Spoon says those Ender sales happen every 3 to 6 months for those interested. Sometimes the standard edition, but you can add the pro perks and come out ahead. Nice, good info. Jim, appreciate it. Jamie Armstrong says, was that frame you just held up the Superfly CB3? I just bought one and wanted to know how you like it. So, Jamie, I have been a sponsored pilot of Rotorius, the frame company in the EU, for coming up on about 2 years now. When I first came on board with them, they had a mini alien style frame called the CB122. And it was a 2.5-inch prop frame. That's what I was flying in the Atlanta Quad Camp video. During that event, I got Drew to fly that rig. So it was basically a CB 2.5 with the motors I called out earlier, the RCX 1304 5000s, 4S, just regular old like Foxeer Predator camera, nothing special. A little cheapo stack, $20 ESC, $20 flight controller, $11 VTX, and an RXSR. And Drew flew it and said candidly to Brad and I, standing there with him, that it was one of the best flight experiences. Like, he could not believe it. Said it was one of the best flight experiences he's ever had in FPV, and he'd been into it at that point for 3+ years. After that really got me inspired to keep pushing with this frame. So worked with the owner of Rotorius at the time, Jack, a lot to get a V2 made, which is basically bigger for 3-inch props. And then eventually we got up to V3, which is what you're looking at here. The V3 has individual arms, which is really, really, really nice. In the process of that, for a while, there was a US and an EU Rotorius. Things happened. They broke up, let's just say, whatever. I'm not going to get into it. The US side became Superfly, and the Superfly CB is solid base plate. That, again, without getting into it, that was his design. The individual arm design was more Jack's design. So this is the version 3. This is the one that I prefer. There will be a version 4. Rotorius is under new management now. There will be a version 4 with a different name at some point. I've been working on this and a lot of other frame projects for a long time, like year and a half-ish, with a bunch of different companies, spending a lot of time and effort to give feedback, to give ideas, to brainstorm ideas. I don't have any 3D design background or experience or abilities. I don't necessarily want to dive into that. Again, it's going to be another thing that I obsess over and it wastes my time. I want to focus. I've gotten pretty frustrated in like a lot of this work that I've done, just having like little tiny incremental changes. So, 2020 plans, I'm going to roll this right in. Wait, is this, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect because that was the last comment I wanted to hit. All right. The rest of the comments are going to have to wait. And you're welcome for the shout out, full CT. Everybody hit full CT, post again. Hit his channel. He has an awesome video on how to fix dropped bell motor shafts. Just hit his channel. He's an awesome dude, very smart guy. I met him. We met at Quad Camp, I believe, right? Give him a sub. He well deserves it. Check that video out. It's fucking awesome. And yes. So, where I'm at now, 20. All right, we're getting the bullet points up. Pushing the chat to the background. Pulling the bullet points up. Where's it at on my bullet points? It's not on there. Whatever. 2020 plans for CiottiFPV. First and foremost is my own frame. I am going ground up. My best friend in the world, Brad McManus, up in New Jersey, McManus FPV. Some of you guys might remember him. He gave away a glide frame a couple weeks ago. And the deal was you had to hit his channel, sub to it, check out his amazing new Las Vegas edit. He doesn't have an editing background like I do. He is much more of the just go out and fly and have fun and don't obsess over the footage kind of thing. Which, man, that is like such a nice approach to have. But I love making edits. So I will continue to obsess over them. But I push him to make edits all the time, and when he gets them done, they're fucking awesome. So, you guys, if you're on McManus's channel, bug the shit out of him. Keep bugging him for more edits, because he's got a ton of awesome footage. But me, him, and he's got a buddy who is an engineer, a very talented engineer, who also has access to a carbon cutting machine. We're going to make a frame. It's going to be inspired, obviously, right, by this mini alien design, but basically every single idea I've ever had about what a microframe needs, should have, could have, deserves, whatever, is going to be involved, is going to be in this build. Like, it's not going to be a $20 frame, right? Like, well, we'll probably make a $20 version of it. So one of the things that I've always really wanted to do that I just can't believe that nobody's really done is go very modular. When you have removable arms, there's no reason not to have 10 different kinds of arms for that build. So, and especially with like the center canopy area, like this is pretty much set, right? Like, there's a set amount of space here that you need for a camera, a stack, a VTX, and a receiver. So essentially what we're trying to do is make this center section as small as we possibly can, but still have it be serviceable and fit as much of the current gear as possible. So there's going to be 20 by 20 holes, 16 by 16 holes, whoop board holes. So you'll be covered on all that. But what we're really excited to do is have 2-inch arms, 2.5-inch arms, 3-inch arms, 3.7-inch arms. That's the size arm that you need to clear Stan FPV's ducts. So we're setting it up to be a Cinewhoop as well. 4-inch arms for 4-inch props. The 3.8-inch arms will clear the new Emax 3.5-inch props, so that'll be cool. Different mounting patterns, 9x9 mount, 12x12 mount, TPU options, different camera mounting options, the ability to mount a Session or a Hero up top. Just kind of the only 3-inch frame that you would ever need if you're looking to build something in the 200-ish gram or up weight range. It's definitely not going to be a toothpick, super lightweight, super floaty, FPV only setup. It's going to be more geared towards HD. It'll fit the Tarsier. It's going to fit the Runcam Hybrid. Definitely also not a replacement for the Acrobee. This is not me trying to compete with Tommy. The Acrobee is a phenomenal frame that is pretty much the only way that you can get truly crystal clear jello-free footage out of the split cameras that struggle with jello, of which there are many. The reason I'm going to go so hard on this is because the Tarsier has proven to me that there is a way to not have a ton of jello without the clean dirty system. The clean dirty setup will always work better, but I had a rig very similar to this with 1306's that with the Tarsier had almost no jello, and that was enough to kind of convince me, like, okay, this is a possibility. I've made a New Year's resolution to have this frame done by the end of February, so February 28th or 29th. That it's gonna be really hard. It might just be protos that are available by then, but I want to have something that I can show you guys by then. So I'm gonna work my ass off for the next 2 months with Brad and his buddy to get something done. And yeah, I want to have a frame for you guys, and I want to have a frame for you guys that. So like when you guys ask me right now, what's a good 3-inch frame to get? If you've been here a while, I don't have an answer because there just kind of isn't one. Like this is as close as we've got, but these aren't really available. Like this version 3 with the individual arms, like this is pretty much a prototype. I have there's a couple other people with them, but that's pretty much it. The one that Superfly sells with the solid base plate it's okay. It's really good. It's probably the best that we've got. But there's some things that I don't like about it. Yeah, that's the big plan for 2020 is getting a frame together, and then it's gonna be 5-inch frame, and then this will sort of serve as a 4-inch frame, but maybe we'll look to do something with a specific 4-inch frame. But yeah, it's gonna be. The other thing is weight. That's the thing that really kills me. There are some 3-inch frames that I'm interested in, but they're too heavy. This is the frame that I build is going to be sub 30 grams because that's what it needs to be if it's going to be 200-ish all up weight. So yeah, that'll be really fun. I have tried almost all of the 3-inch frames out there, or been had conversations with people who I trust that have tried them, and they all have problems. They're all either like way too expensive or weak, or just have like kind of glaring problems, to be honest with you. I'm not going to call any of them out because I know you guys have a lot of them and I don't want you to feel like shit, but yeah, I've got something coming for you guys, and it's going to be cool. My thought process is 1 3-inch frame to end them all in terms of like non clean dirty, and I'm also talking about Cinewhoop. I mean, I want it to be able to be modular to the point where, I've got a shoot coming up tomorrow that requires a Cinewhoop. Okay, let me put my Cinewhoop arms and motors on. Like with the removable arms, you'll be able to pull the arms off and have a separate set of the 3.8-inch arms with motors, right? Like you're going to want bigger motors on those arms. So put race wires on your stuff, pop those arms off, drop the ducted arms on, solder up your 3 points to the race wires, and in like 15 minutes you can convert your fleet to be all Cinewhoop so that you have multiple rigs that can do sort of the same thing. That is my theory. That part of the theory comes from, in the video production world, the saying 2 is 1, or sometimes 3 is 1 and 1 is none. What that means is, if you only have one rig, you might as well have none, because it's going to break the second that you get on site. So 2 rigs is 1, right? Because in theory, only one of those is going to work. Realistically, in like the real high-end production world, it's 3 is 1, because 2 of them are going to fail, or you're going to bash one of them immediately on the first battery. So yeah, that's sort of the philosophy there. Get that modular thing going. Get you guys into setups where you can buy a bunch of different arms. You know, maybe we'll even do stuff like moving the arms around, like doing dead cat arms, doing true X arms, doing squish X arms. Give you guys some options, right? Arms are cheap. Why shouldn't we have 20 different arms for our rigs, and we can fuck around all day long making wacky setups? Why buy an entire frame that's a wacky setup? Buy a modular frame that you can adjust to your specific flying style, ideal all up weight, prop size, whatever. There you go. That's the big plan for 2020. There's some other smaller plans. We talked about the goals over on Patreon. I want to hit that 100 patron goal to give away a frame. I think it would be hysterical to hit the 200 number and give somebody my smelly ass shirt. What else? I've got a lot. So there's something about FPV that makes it like this safe haven for folks with mental illness, whether they've been diagnosed or whether they haven't. The diagnosed rate is 10%. 1 out of 10 people that is in your life has been diagnosed with mental illness. They probably have not told you that, because they don't tell anyone that. One of the things that depression is great with is telling you that it's just you and that you can't talk to anybody about it. It's so good at that, and it's so fucking evil. It is really hard. I've struggled with it for a long time. It's basically genetic for me. It's a chemical imbalance thing. I have been fighting it for a long time, but unfortunately it gets worse and worse. So the harder that I fight, the worse that it gets, and it's a race. And it's a really scary race, if I'm totally brutally honest with you guys. So I have created a little YouTube group that's still kind of starting to get off the ground, called FPV Therapy. This is a fully safe space for folks who either have mental illness issues or want to learn about it. And I really hope that we get more people in there that just want to learn, that don't have it. Because one of the other huge and possibly the biggest problem with mental illness is the stigma surrounding it, in that none of us want to talk about it because those other 9 out of 10 people don't understand it. A bunch of those 9 out of 10 also have it, but they haven't been diagnosed, and they haven't been taught about it anywhere in their life, because they're just, again, there's a stigma around it, and there aren't good resources to teach the general public about it. That is going to change. Like, this current generation of kids growing up is I've heard them being called like the mental illness generation. So it is going to change, and God damn it, I'm going to be someone that pushes for that. I try to be as outspoken as I can about it. It's very difficult to talk about it. I know at least 50% of the people in here don't want to hear about this, but you're gonna, because it's a big part of my life, and it's a big part of, in my opinion, 50% of the people in this in the U.S. and you know, the civilized world's lives. I think there's a lot of people that are undiagnosed. If when you're working on quads, you get really angry and throw a quad at the wall, I hate to break it to you, but you have depression. That's one of the really shitty unknown symptoms of depression. So FPV Therapy is the name of the Facebook group. Fully safe space. Everybody in there can vent, can fucking curse, can, you know, tell their story if they're courageous enough. We're trying to get a little like helpline set up so that, and we're looking for volunteers, so that we've got basically what we're wanting to do is create a Google Voice number, and then have that number push to a bunch of our cell phones, so that if you're in a bad place, or to be honest, if you just want to learn, like if your significant other you think might have it, and you just want to talk about it, you can call the number. I have to assume that we won't be talking people off of ledges because hopefully they're going to call the actual mental health number. But I'm willing to do it. I don't give a shit. I've spent a ton of time fighting with this, and I will do whatever it takes to help anybody else learn about it, figure it out, and just just not let it ruin their lives, because it can, and it will. It really, really will. Unless you learn about it, it's the only way to get through it. So, FPV therapy, check it out if you have any interest. If you know someone in your life in this hobby, or just somebody that needs a safe space, send them over. They are more than welcome. We will welcome them as family. I left myself a note that says @tag. Why did I do that? @tag. Oh, in the chat. Okay. All right, let me fix that note. So my little note sheet is is a living document, as they say. @tag in chat. @tag in chat. There we go. Okay, good. Affiliate links. I don't know if I mentioned it, but affiliate links down there. 3 different websites. The bit.ly links go to Get FPV. They are my current favorite stateside U.S. shop. There are bang.good or something like that links. Banggood for all you folks in spots in the world that don't have a local shop. I know you guys rely on Banggood, so some good stuff there. And then what's the third one? Amazon. There's some Amazon links. I know some of you guys love shopping on Amazon. Here's the slick thing about the Amazon links. For any of you guys that do orders on Amazon, if you want me to have free money to pour into this stuff for more testing, if before you do an Amazon order, you hit any one of my affiliate links, it drops a cookie in your browser, and you don't have to buy what you clicked on. It gives me credit for that whole order, and I get whatever, like 1.2% or 1% or whatever the hell it is. It's free money. There's kind of no reason not to do it. So the more you guys remember to just hit any of my affiliate Amazon links before you do your orders, the more we'll fund this madness that we're knee deep in. So there you go with that. Again, the links down here are the gear that I've used and that I trust, and that you can save yourself money by just getting this gear. I am the worst offender of, oh, everybody's using this, but I want to try this new thing because it's probably better and I can be better than all those guys. Sorry, it ain't the truth. I still do it to this day. But find people who have been in this hobby for a long time and have pissed away a ton of money using all the different stuff and have settled on something that's actually reliable, and get that stuff. And that's what I'm trying to do down here. And that's what I've been trying to do for a long time, is just tell you guys, like, look, for $32, you can get a Talon F7 flight controller, and that will work on all of your builds. The pad layout is perfect. They give you an MPU 6000 gyro option. It's got a black box chip in it. It's reliable as hell because it's made by CL Racing. Blah, 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 blah. All these things. That is the only flight controller you need. There's no reason, in my opinion, to spend $55 or $60 on a flight controller. That Talon flies just as good, if not better, than FCs I've paid literally twice as much money for. Same deal with ESC. Well, ESCs are a little bit different because the cheapest ESC, not the cheapest, but the cheaper ESCs don't hold up. But if you take my advice down there and spend $68 on an Acon ESC, it won't blow up in midair and you won't lose your shit in the ocean or whatever. Or just, I bought a whole bunch of these Racer Star ESCs that were really decent for like $35, but I blew up 3 of them. I would have been better off buying one Acon. I had the rig that was stuck in the tree that a bunch of you guys saw. I was hammering on that ESC hard enough to I didn't even know you could do this. I mean, I knew it was a possibility with magnets, but I literally I got this one motor so hot that it demagnetized the magnets in there. There's no magnetization here on this bell that was totally fine before I started pounding on it, and that ESC didn't care. That ESC is completely fine with it. So yeah, use other people's blood, sweat, tears, and hard-earned money, and trying all these different things to your advantage. Don't make the same mistakes. Get stuff that works until you're really good, and then when you're totally invested in the hobby, then you can screw around. But when you're new, don't try to go crazy with the technical stuff. Get stuff that works so that you can be up in the air for more than 2 batteries at a time when stuff starts falling on fire, catching on fire. Ooh, the link to the FPV therapy. You should just be able to search it in Google's search because I did the thing in the place that allows you to do that, but there's the link. While I'm at it, I'll just link dump on you. Oh, no, I don't have to. Down below is the link to Patreon, and down below is another link to something. I'm supposed to remember this. What is it? Oh, yeah, Streamlabs. I checked out the Streamlabs thing. A couple of you guys suggested it. It's PC only right now. So I set it up, and if you want to click the Streamlabs link, I think you can donate or something, but I can't put the PC version. You can put fun things up here that do things and it links together, and I can't do that yet. It does look like they're working on a Mac version, so maybe down the road we can do it. But yeah, Streamlabs. I don't know anything about it. Go do it. Oh, and Discord. That was the other thing. I set up a Discord page. When you join the Patreon, you automatically become... It puts you over there, and you get like special privileges. There's a special room. Something that I'm doing for patrons is Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. I'm going to do a Patreon voice chat. You guys can all jump in, ask questions. If there's more than a couple people, I'll probably have to mute everybody and unmute you. You ask your question, mute you, or maybe do a couple people at a time. But yeah, you'll get to ask me questions live. We'll talk about it. We'll curse at each other, hurl insults, all the things that us weirdos do. 4 people want to join FPV therapy. I'm approving all 4 of you blindly. Bing, bang, boom. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think that is the end of the top of my little sheet. It is now 5 o'clock. Holy Christ. Product spotlight is Newbie Drone Brushless versus Mobula 6. First and foremost, my relationship with Newbie Drone is pretty much nothing. They sent me an email a while back to become a prototype tester of the brushed board that had active braking, but I didn't get in on it, so they sent another email when they were ready to do the prototypes of these. I thought they would just send it, but it costs $100 because they view it as testers. They view these units as testers that you're buying that are like 90% there. Unfortunately, this was a little bit less than reliable of a product, and the big problem is we can't get replacement motors yet. There's something going on with these motors. So the prototype version has not been super durable, but they have done some things on the production model that should, in theory, be more durable. They only give us a 10% discount on the production version, so I'm not going to be buying one because, quite frankly, at that point, I'll be like $250, $260 into brushless tiny whoops, and that's kind of insane. And I don't necessarily love how they handled the problems with these. I mean, they told, like, the NDA that we signed and everything said, like, look, this is what you're getting into. It's an unfinished product. It could blow up. It could catch on fire. Like, it's, and I knew that, and we all knew that. But I don't know. I wish they'd thrown us a little bit more of a bone, because there's a lot of the people that spent $100+ on these testers that have not been able to fly them since like very early on. So that's been my relationship with Newbie Drone. This is a great rig with some glaring problems, unfortunately. The first of which is, and the Mobula 6, all of these issues that I'm going to talk about, the Mobula 6 does not have. So you guys can probably already guess what the the general feeling is going to be of this review, but I got to figure out how to reverse OBS's screen. because so that it's like a mirror, so that when I go left, it goes left, and when I go right. See those motor plugs, guys? Do they look a little small to you? Do they look a little thin to you, maybe? It's because they are. So, Newbie Drone decided to use the smaller. See how JST plugs, like all the plug headers that we've got, there's like 2 different versions, and they're very, very similar. But one of them is a little bit smaller than the other one. So that's what Newbie Drone decided to do. I would love to think that they decided to go with the smaller plugs to save weight, but I really doubt that. Unfortunately, I think that they did it to lock you into their motors. I don't know why else they would have done this. So the first problem is that you can't run any other motors. The way they've gotten around that on the production models, they put pads on the board. So you can cut these tiny little motor wires and try to solder them down to the tiny little pads. I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm really good at soldering. It's not that I doubt my ability to do it, but I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm not buying another one to do it, but yeah, that kind of sucks. The other problem is that the motors have been failing. That's the big issue that a lot of the testers have been dealing with, is that the like you fly it a couple times and then a motor will start twitching, and that's that. I have, at first I thought it was where the motor wires went into the plug. I thought that they were pulling out and losing contact. That's not the case. Then I thought they have this little PDB that they put. Let me show you guys. They put a little tiny PDB on. This is going to be hard as hell to show you guys. How can I show that? Okay, this is the angle. All right, this is going to look weird because it's upside down. Oh, wait, I'll flip it right side up. See where the motor wires are connected to there? They literally put a little PDB on the motor. You can see the little silver solder joints where the wires are hanging out. I thought it might be there because it's a tiny, tiny, tiny little solder joint. So I took those off and I cleaned those up and I fluxed them and did them all gorgeous like my electrical engineer father showed me, and it still didn't fix it. So I don't know if it's the ESC on the board. I don't know what it is, but I can only fly this for about a half a battery until I crash, and then I have to go get it because the motor's twitching, and then I have to sit here and fuck around with it. At which point, you know, I mean, when the live stream with Joshua, when he was over here hanging out a couple weeks ago, when with the Tiny Hawk, the new Tiny Hawk, whatever the hell it's called, Pro or whatever, I got to keep my phone on in case I fuck up in OBS and you guys message me on Facebook to tell me what I screwed up. Ryan Harrell's messaging me, so sorry for the dings, but it's better than me shutting it off and then I put the stream on the wrong camera for an hour. Yeah, when we were flying around, I was like, hey, Joshua, here, fly this. And I totally forgot that it just doesn't work after you crash it once. And so he flies it for 10 seconds and it crashes and one of the motors shuts off. And he's like, well, what the hell? And so we're sitting here like, all right, which one's better? We're just like, well, this one doesn't work. So I guess the Tiny Hawk is better. Like I said, hopefully on the production model, they figured all that out. I'm not going to spend $160 on a production model. Sorry. If one of you guys do and it's bulletproof, awesome. What I will say, this cockroach frame is amazing. It is just as good as the 6mm cockroach frame, brushless, brushed frame, in that, like, it's, in my testing, indestructible. Somebody on the internet, you know, if he's on the internet, he must be a pro and know what he's talking about. Somebody on the internet said that they didn't like the durability of this frame and that they preferred the Betaflight Pro frame. I had the Betaflight regular frame and it was horrible. It was gummy as hell. It introduced all kinds of oscillations and vibrations. This person that told me this was a racer, so maybe for them it doesn't matter. My experience is that this cockroach frame is bomb-proof, as is this canopy. This little setup right here, other than the motors failing, has been incredibly durable, like hilariously durable. And that's the problem that I've had with with 2 other brushless whoops. So, other than the motors, the durability is phenomenal. The board is also phenomenal. Newbie Drone, like, almost always makes a better quality board. That's why you pay extra for it. The board has the VTX built in, which is great because then the camera just plugs directly into the board. The big difference between this and the Mobula 6 is that the Mobula 6 also has the receiver built in. It's got a built-in SPI receiver with diversity. That is great news for anybody that's trying to save weight. That is how you make the lightest possible, and I'm looking for the tab that I had opened with the Mobula specs. There it is. Okay. So that is how you save weight. I actually prefer this, though. On this, they allow you to run an external receiver, so you can put a 1 gram RXSR or like 1.2 gram. If you're going to do the RXSR, depin it. That's how you save some weight on there. Or you can run a Crossfire Nano, which is just silly. Or they have their own FR Sky receiver that's like 0.8 of a gram. I love that. I love being able to run an external receiver just because it gives you the options. You're not locked into one protocol that's built into the board. But it is a little bit heavier that way. The Mobula 6 seems to be a little bit lighter. Let me get to the... if you haven't watched it already, watch Kebab's video reviewing the Mobula 6. That's where the majority of my info is coming from, because I'm not big enough to be sent stuff ahead of time yet. But you guys are helping with that, man. Every single thing that you guys do, everything of mine that you repost, it is making a difference. I'm rolling over something on the chair. I don't know what it is. It is making a big difference. So whatever you guys are doing, like, keep doing it. Repost my stuff, I guess. Just mention me. If you have some way to mention to these manufacturers that they should send me stuff for reviews, do that. Because I'm just waiting. I want to do that stuff. I have a couple really cool ideas on how to do that in a different way that should be better in 2020. Namely, like, I'm going to do live stream reviews. So I'm going to set up a live stream that's like reviewing the Mobula 6. And I'm going to come on. I'm going to have some bullet points. I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to talk about it in OBS. I'm going to switch over to a scene with some flight footage. And then you guys are going to be hammering me with some questions, hopefully, in the chat. I can talk through those and close the video down. Hopefully get it done in like 10, 15 minutes. It's wishful thinking with me. But I'll then have a review video. And then what I'm really looking forward to is on these Sunday and Monday streams, we are going to tear them down. This is what I'm super excited about. I want to take these bind and flies and tear them down and figure out what they did right, what they did wrong, and what we can replace to make them better. So that if you're new and you're getting into this hobby, you can buy a bind and fly to get yourself up in the air, right? That was a big key to me. I wanted to get up in the air first to see if I liked the hobby before I went down the rabbit hole of building and upgrading, right? So, because I don't know if I would have stuck with this hobby. If the problems that I had building micros initially, I would have probably quit if I'd never flown or only flown in the simulator. So for me to buy a bind and fly was really nice because it got me hooked and it got me to fly through the air and go, holy shit, I'm flying. I need to do this for the rest of my life because it's flying and that's insane. So yeah, those are a couple of the other plans for 2020. Here's what I'm talking about with the weight. This frame I'm sure is heavier. This canopy I'm sure is heavier. So I'll bet you that this is going to be more durable than the Mobula 6. I don't think anybody's broken one yet, but the weight is a sign of reliability. 20 points to whoever tags me with the movie that one's from. 23.2 grams. So as we can see here, God knows how close this number is, but Banggood is saying 20 grams. It's probably pretty close to that because they don't have a 1.1 or 1.2 gram receiver in here, and the frame is probably floppier, the canopy is probably floppier, so that would make total sense how to drop a couple grams down. So like for racing and just for all out efficiency, the Mobula 6 might be better. But for freestyle, if you're willing to solder your motors down to this board, to the production board, and if the problem isn't the ESCs or the MOSFETs or something like that, here's the thing too, right? You buy the production model of this, Newbie Drone's going to stand behind it. Good luck getting anywhere near that level of service from buying a Mobula or the Betaflight Whoop. That being said, Banggood is not terrible with customer service. I've had to deal with their customer service before, and it was fine. I have certainly heard from people that they had to deal with their customer service and it was awful. I've heard that about everything. I've heard that about every single company ever, that a person somewhere had a horrible experience with them. Maybe it's just that person. I don't know. Maybe there are people out in the world with completely unrealistic expectations, and when they get pissed off, they vent all over the world about it, everywhere that they possibly can about it, right? That doesn't sound like us humans at all. So, yeah, I love supporting Newbie Drone. They're stateside. They're a great company. They make great stuff. I am admittedly biased because of the experience that I had with the tester. If the production model showed up here and was bulletproof, I would be telling all of you guys to get, and it may very well be, and I would be telling you guys, screw saving money, buy this. It's bomb proof. The extra little bit of weight is actually kind of cool with a micro, to be able to get a little bit of throw out of it. Like it's not so heavy that it feels like shit. It's still got plenty of power, but you do get a little bit more glide with it, which is really fun. I've been able to like go down the end of one of the things I've been screwing around with. I fly really low down the end of the hallway. I climb the door and then I let it fall down the door. I go full throttle with it still pointed up a little bit, and then just snap it down, and it'll actually glide dead level all the way down my hallway, which is like 15 feet long. I don't ever remember being able to do that with the lighter weight, like 20-ish gram rigs. So yeah, there's that. That's all that I can confidently talk on. Watch Kebab's video on the Mobula 6. Kebab is like the guy in terms of reviewers. He's the guy that's got the majority of the experience. He's the best pilot in my opinion of the reviewers. Although, Nick would give him a run for the money. Watch Nick Burns' review as well. For anybody that's interested, those are the only two reviewers that I watch anymore. For me, a reviewer has to be a good pilot, because to know if something, like, I can read the stats myself. I don't need someone to read the stats out loud to me. What I want to know is if something flies good enough that I'm going to be able to grow with it. And if the person reviewing it is still at a piloting level that, like, I was at when I was new, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to grow with that, right? I want something reviewed by a really good pilot that's going to be able to say, hey, I've flown 500 different rigs. Well, no, not even necessarily just that. So, I mean, some of the reviewers have flown a ton of rigs, and that's great experience. But I really do think that you have to be a good pilot to get the nuances of the way that the props, the frame, the motors, the flight controller, the gyro, the tune, the filtering, the way that they all work together to give you a flight experience versus it's got a ton of power, or the tune sucks, or the tune is great, or it doesn't have enough power. That stuff's all easy. I try to watch reviewers that can go to the next level of that and say, this flies really good in this situation, doesn't do well in this situation over here, or I flew it really hard and I flew it a lot and I broke. This is the other thing that Kebab and Nick do, is they actually fly stuff a bunch. They don't just get it in. Like when the very first review for something comes out, it's kind of like, well, how much did you really fly that? I mean, a lot of times they're under media embargoes nowadays, so they gotta wait until the launch date to put their reviews out. So it's not so much of an issue now, but it used to be like a couple reviews would come out right away, and then Nick Burns' review would come out like 3 or 4 weeks later, and in his review, it's very obvious that he's flown 100 batteries through it, and I think that's so important. That's also the only way to get actual reliability feedback on these rigs. You can, even if you go out and crash it really hard, that still doesn't give you 100 batteries worth of reliability stuff. Is it going to vibrate to pieces after 100 batteries, right? You don't know that if you just bash it into a stop sign. So I think that is relatively important. So that is where I'm going to leave the product spotlight for the day. The specs on the Mobula are nothing insane. There's nothing that really like jumped out at me as like, oh yeah, definitely have to buy it. They're 0802s, just like the newbie drone Whoop. The KVs are 19,000 or 25,000. The newbie drone Whoop is 18,000, so that's pretty much the same as 19,000. 25,000 is just nutty. They both will do 1S or 2S. So I mean, very, very similar. They both have the VTX built into the board. One of them has the receiver built in there as well. Let me double check on the VTX thing. Hang on one second. VTX. Let me make sure it's built into the board. Built in. Yeah. Okay. I was 99% sure, but I just wanted to get you to the 100% mark. Mobula 6 is also lighter weight. So yeah, that's my thoughts. That's the end of product spotlight. Let's hop over to pilot spotlight real quick. Who did I have? Let's do CiottiFPV. I think for the US stream, yeah, I had CiottiFPV on for the US stream, but wait, no, you know what? Since this is the EU stream, let me give you guys that's a good idea. I can't believe I didn't think of that. So the US stream, I'm trying to do a lot of EU pilots in the thoughts that those folks might not have heard of them. But this is the EU stream, so let me give you guys a US pilot that you maybe don't know about. Let me take a quick look here. Let me just pick somebody out from the list. Looking for somebody who doesn't have a ton of viewers, which is tough because those are usually the ones that I don't remember as easily. I'm just gonna start clicking on folks here. If you guys have any suggestions for like, you can't post the link. You can post their name though. If you know like a pilot who doesn't have a lot of subs who's like gnarly, that's what I'm looking for. Engineer FPV is really good, but I think you guys already know about him. He's pretty well known. Who do we got? Finky, you guys all know him. I had somebody in mind the other day. God damn it. Florian, I'm sure you guys know him. Well, actually, he's over in the EU anyway. Oh, this will be worth it, guys. This will be worth it. I'm clicking pretty randomly at this point. This is the one thing I forgot to prep. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. It's gonna be full CT. That's perfect. Full CT. You guys probably don't know him. Hit Full CT's channel. He's got an awesome securing a loose bell tutorial video that he did, which is very, very cool. And he's only got 181 subs. So everybody head over to Full CT's channel. Hey, you should be able to set your channel URL, Full CT, to be youtube.com/fullct. Do that because it makes a big difference. There's a link to his channel. Check out that securing a loose bell video. It's awesome. And let's bug the shit out of him to make more content, because after seeing that video, I was like, yeah. We need to browbeat him into making more stuff, because he did a great job. It's so hard to make those like really technical, tiny little like how to fix something videos. So we need to lean on him to do more, because I'm not willing to do them. So there you go. He's got some awesome other content, some Acrobee ripping. I think we met at Quad Camp way back when. We also hung out at Rampage. He's got a great rampage at it, actually. Hopefully there will be some rampages coming up. I have to assume that there will be. Can't say anything about it, though. So, yeah. All right. Pilot Spotlight done. The other real quick thing I wanted to talk about with Pilot Spotlights is I got a really good question from somebody a couple weeks ago that I forgot to answer. I answered it a couple days ago for the U.S. audience. But he asked me, how the hell do I find local people to fly with? And it can be really hard. Like when I moved to Charleston, it was only racers. There was like a tiny little group with racers only, and I had no interest after trying that a couple times. So I realized that there was no freestyle FPV Charleston group, Facebook group. I made one. In the title, go with them. So you should do that too. It's very easy to do. Your title should be super simple. The name of the town that you want to fly in, or like the most popular town maybe, FPV. Space FPV. Don't do, Quad Squad 382 ball sack facers. The simplest name possible. Think SEO. Think, how the hell do I get other people in this like niche within a niche within a niche within a niche to find me? The name is the first one. So the biggest town that's around you that you're willing to drive to fly, FPV is your name. There's tags that it's going to let you do. Fill up the tags with the biggest town names. So like for me here, it would be like Alpharetta, Duluth, Atlanta, stuff like that. In the description field, you are going to stuff the bottom of that description field with every single town name that's around you that you can think of. So like, don't just stuff them in there. Like put a sentence like, this is a group for pilots in and around the Alpharetta area for me to meet up and fly and stuff like that. But like I said, hammer the bottom of that with every single town name. What you're trying to do is make it easy for that person that lives in Duluth that types into the search FPV Duluth to find your group. And then you just got to also put it out there. Like, again, you just got to put the work in. Sometimes it's just the way life is. So, that group is your baby. Put it out there. If there's a local racing group, put it there. If there's a racing group on the other side of the state, post it in there. Post it more than once. Post it once a week. Post your flight edits in there and then share them. Like, just every possible way you can think of to get that group name out there, get it out there. I did that in Charleston, and that group was up to, well, I'll look. Fuck it, I won't look. Last time I looked, I think the group was up to 40-something people, maybe more than that. So it totally works. It absolutely works. You just have to do it. Someone has to do it in every little area, and that's, if you're having trouble finding pilots in your area, somebody probably hasn't done it. So you need to do it. Cool. Pilot Spotlight done. Patreon, we talked about 10 cents. Giveaways. Giveaways a little tough for you EU folks. Like I talked about earlier, you got to cover shipping, but it's probably still well worth it for you. This week coming up, the prize for the 5-inch tier is over $100, as it will be the following week. The week after that, it'll probably be a little bit less than that, but good prizes that are well worth it. For when you do so I have 3 different tiers: $5, $10, $20. $5 tiers for the cheapest stuff, which is whoop and toothpick stuff. I've got a care package coming from Bob Rugi Kebab of FPV Cycle. If you guys don't know what FPV Cycle is, type it into your URL bar right now. Bob is who started the toothpick movement. FPVcycle.com. There you go. It's in the chat. He's who started the toothpick movement. He's who has the best performing toothpick parts. Go figure. The guy with the most experience has the best parts. If you want to build a toothpick, use as many of his parts as possible, and you'll have the best performing toothpick available. Cool. I see you guys are talking about lighting. I'll hit on that in a second, because lighting is where I ended up with in photography as like my love. I've done lighting on a bunch of independent films. If you guys ever have lighting questions, ask me. I love talking about lighting. It's the nerdiest thing that I'm into, and I embrace the shit out of that. So that's the way the tiers work. $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, and you get into four. Every Monday night, I do a drawing with each one of those. This is my way of A, making sure that you only get the stuff that you want, and B, making sure that you don't have to be on my streams to win the giveaways, right? By doing it through Patreon, all you have to do is be in the Patreon to get entered, and then if you win, I message you. So there's that, and we talked about everything else. Cool. Discord, talked about that as well. Chat, or the Discord link. Where did I put the Discord link? Did I put it in the, I hope I did. Yeah, I did. Discord link is down there. Hopefully it still works. God, Discord makes it hard for you to have like a link that continues to function. Every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, we're going to do the Discord hangout live chat sessions. That's going to be a private room for patrons only. There is an open general room in there. So you don't have to be on Patreon to go over there. You guys can hang out in the rooms, use them, talk to each other. Just get in like right now, I think what's happening, because there's a bunch of people on there, is that like nobody's going into the room to start it. So like nobody's in there, so nobody ever joins. So like if you're hanging out in there on Discord, just jump into one of the talk rooms and just hang out in there. And if somebody else sees you in there, then they'll jump in. But if none of you guys ever jump in, nobody will ever jump in, because I don't use Discord much. So I'm not going to be in there to push you guys. Giveaways we talked about. Oh, the other thing with the giveaways, there's a $30 and any more than 30, you're in everything. So you'll get, and then we also do super chat giveaways on Monday nights, and you get entered in those as well. And I usually do 2 of those. So the $30 and up tier, you're probably going to be in 20 giveaways a month. So there you go. And like I said, the 5-inch tier, the thing coming up is $100. Probably another $100. The micro brushless stuff is anywhere from like 80 to 40, and then the tiny whoop stuff is usually between 20 and 40 or 50. So yeah, trying to make it worth your guys' while. Trying to make sure that I'm giving back as much as I should be. That is everything that's on my bullet point list here. Let me check the name of the live stream today. I was too short on that one. There we go. Get a lot of that Monday nights because I do it every time with the giveaways. The only other thing that I did want to hit on today was these Betaflight. Great. BetafPV 1505's. We already kind of talked about them, but I wanted to give you guys the smell test. Where's the mouse pointer? Man, interneting is hard. I want to give you guys the smell test on these. It's actually the audio test. Anybody who's been here knows my stance on notchy motors, and I realized recently that you guys can actually hear how notchy they are by me spinning them really close to the microphone. So let me get a couple different motors to give you guys an idea. I haven't flown them yet. They do have a 2mm motor shaft, which is kind of disappointing, but it should be fine because these are not for a big fat 250 plus gram build, I don't think. I'm thinking these are going to be for a 200 gram 3-inch prop build. Okay. So we've got a Zing 1507. I've got some Emax 1606s and the BetafPV. So we're going to start with the smoothness, which is the Zing. The T-motor is just as smooth, and you guys probably will just barely be able to hear it. You can probably hear the magnets scraping against the stator because the bell is bent more than the actual notchiness. So there's about as smooth as it's ever going to get. I'll spoil the surprise and just say now we're going to take one step up in notchiness to the Emax 1606s. So there you guys with them. And yeah, ASMR is fuck. And then here's the BetafPVs. So hopefully you guys can, I assume Discord is working. I hope it is. I'm really dumb with Discord, so it could have just broken and I would have no idea. Let me launch it over on the other screen, make sure it's working. Or it'll launch right in front of everything. So yeah, I hope you guys could hear that, but they are definitely more notchy than the Emax 1606s, and quite a bit more notchy than the new crop of 1507s that we've got. One of the reasons I believe that these new 1507s are smoother is that they have 14 magnets instead of 12. All of the previous micromotors had 12 magnets. The more magnets, the less of a gap there is in between the poles, which will physically make them smoother. Chainsaw, thanks for hanging, brother. Be good. Jeff, let me see if Discord is working. Streamer mode is enabled. Yeah, I gotta figure out what that means. I don't want to disable it because it sounds serious. Oh, is that... Oh, fucker. Try to accept, but you don't see the channel. Well, let me try this link. This is good. You guys can troubleshoot this with me because I still don't know how it works. Anybody that's having problems, do me a favor. Try that link. The link that I put in my description, I thought it said that would be a link that didn't expire, but I don't know. Oh, ESK Race brings up the RC Power 1506s. I have them hopefully on the way from Banggood. I've been talking to Ava over at Banggood about doing reviews on stuff, and I really wanted the Runcam Hybrid for my first thing to review, but it's looking like it's going to be those RC Power 1506s. The reason why is exactly why you said, ESK Race. They're notchy as hell. I've heard that a bunch of times. Here's the deal, though. RPM filters, I did confirm, are good enough to take the Emax 1606, which is notchy. Not as notchy as these Betaflight, but these are very notchy race motors. They even say race motor right on them. And they say race spec. RPM filters are good enough to smooth out the gyro signal from these motors where you can get a really good tune. Here's the flip side of that. It's not all roses and sunshine. Even though you can get the tune really locked in, notchy motors are still putting more physical vibrations into the system. And what that means is if you have a camera that is sensitive to jello, like all of our split cameras, you have the potential to get jello. You have less of a chance to get it because the error correction is not introducing more vibrations in, but vibrations are physical vibrations are physical vibrations. They're not going to go away just because the tune can handle it. They're going to be there. So as the motors get more and more notchy, your chances of getting jello go up. We'll see how that plays out. I am explosive. I'm going to put, if the hybrid comes, I'm going to put it on a duo frame that's coming because the hybrid does not fit right in the V1 Acrobee frame. The duo frame should be here tomorrow, and somebody's going to get a big shout out on tomorrow's stream for sending that to me. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. My hopes with these Betaflight 1505's is that they're going to be a ton more efficient than 1507's because they're quite a bit lighter and just maths, I should say. My hope is that they have roughly the same amount of power as these 1306's, but I'm certain that they'll have more torque because think of it this way, right? A 2mm, I know 2mm increase in stator width doesn't sound like a lot, but think of it in these terms. Going from a 2207 to a 2306, 1mm different up at 22 and 23 is a big noticeable difference. I won't say it's a big difference. It's a noticeable difference. And that's up at 20. So think about the percentage, right? That's roughly a 4-point-something% change. Down here at 13 and 15, a 2mm increase is a 17% change. That's going to be huge. That's going to be a huge difference in the amount of mechanical torque that's available. The question becomes, are these worth the weight penalty? That's what I'm most curious about. I don't think... You know what? These might actually be an okay Acrobee motor. If you wanted to build a lightweight Acrobee, these could probably do it, because on 1507's, the Acrobrat is like crazy. It is a monster on 1507's. So these 1505's might actually be a really good fit for a lighter weight Acrobrat. My Acrobrat is a fat Crobrat. I've got 2 cameras in there. I've got the OG double board run cam split version 1. I've got like race wires, LED race wires. They don't weigh that much extra, but I've got a bunch of shit on there. The big ass TPU protectors in the front to hold the 2 cameras. So, you know, my Acrobrat is up like 280 now, I think, with these 1606s, which are heavy motors. But if you were to build a slim down Acrobrat, I'm talking like, so where you can save weight is going with one of the newer HD cameras that's got a single board, TBS Pro 32 Nano size VTX, the tiny little fingernail size ones, and a nano receiver. Those are the big ways to save weight, and no TPU. You can probably build a 250 gram Acrobrat with all the benefits of clean dirty with these motors on it, and I bet you it would be pretty good. I bet you that'd be a pretty lively little setup there. I won't be doing that. These motors for me are for this frame. 200-ish grams all up, and yeah, all the throttle resolution in the world, hopefully. Cool. That's everything I wanted to cover. Let me hit the chat. This is a long one. Whew! Still 125 people in here, though. You guys are animals. Whew! Damn. Lead Sled comes in at a really good time with a super chat. Have you experienced yaw twitch, and is there a way to tune it out? Absolutely not. Well, absolutely not. You can't tune it out. Yaw twitch is a couple different things. It can be a physical, mechanical problem, and that's what you should check for first. In the Discord, when I decided to do the Discord was good. I know it's good, but when I realized that I actually did want to use it, because I was just going to set it up for you guys and not use it, because I got to be careful with my time in this hobby. Tuesday, I don't know. One day last week, I went in there. I jumped in the voice room just for the sake of jumping in there. Nobody was in it. I jumped back out, and in the general chat, a couple guys were trying to troubleshoot something, and they'd been trying for about 15 minutes to troubleshoot it. I scrolled up, saw their troubleshoot starting to go on, and the whoever it was had posted a video. I hit play on the video. They flew. Right rear motor dropped out. Crashes in the grass, comes back up, starts flying again. Left rear motor. Did I say left rear? Same motor dropped out both times. Motor 3. Done. That's all I need. Went down in the chat. Hey man, either motor 3 is bad, your wiring between motor 3 and the ESC is bad, the ESC itself on that channel is bad, or your wiring between the flight controller and the ESC for that channel is bad. Done. And like everybody in there was like, "Oh, how did you do that so quick?" Like, here's the bottom line: when you've been into this hobby for long enough, every single possible type of failure has happened to you. When you've really been into it for a long time, those have happened to you multiple times. So when you see them, or when somebody describes a situation, done. Like that's how you fix the problem. So that's important to remember. Yaw twitch is very similar to that situation where that motor is just stopping, and there's nothing in the tune. Let me take a step back. In my experience, 99% of problems are hardware related. They're physical problems somewhere on the rig. It is so rare that the software is the issue. Other than like, I'm getting prop wash, what do I do? Although I'm getting prop wash, what do I do, can be caused physically by motors being too notchy, or your soft mounting not being good enough. So even something like that, I would still check hardware first. But always take a big step back, like I was talking earlier. Okay, what's the simplest possible thing this can be? When a rig is falling out of the sky, you can see in the FPV view which way it dips every time, right? And when they dip like that and they spin to the ground, that means the motor stopped working. So that really makes it easy, because it's either the, like I was saying, ESC motor, wiring. Somebody was asking me about fail-safes. Fail-safes are a whole different thing through the goggles. Fail-safe through the goggles is when the connection between the receiver and the transmitter is lost, Betaflight is set up to just hold the last command for 1 full second. So if you're cruising in a straight line, not moving the sticks, and it fail-safes, you're kind of shit out of luck because it's just going to drop. But you're still going to know how. Talk about that in a second. If you're holding, if you're actively moving the sticks and it starts and it fail-safes, you're going to tell immediately, because immediately there's going to be a disconnect between what you're doing and what your eyes are seeing, and like your body is just going to go for a split second. Usually that will happen right before a full-blown fail-safe. So if you guys are ever flying around and your controls freeze for a split second and then they come back, it's not a twitch, but it's a freeze. Get your ass closer to yourself. Like figure out why it's about to fail safe, because you're about to lose it. When it does fail safe, it will not death roll to the ground. When a motor cuts out, in that instant that it lets go, the PID loop tries to correct it, and that's what causes it to start spinning. And then the PID loop gives up, but that's why it starts to spin. With a failsafe, since it's a controlled thing that's happening, right? The quad it's cool. It's like, oh, I lost link. That's fine. I know what to do. My failsafe is set to wait for a second. So the quad's cool. It waits for a full second. Then the quad goes, okay, I still haven't gotten a link again. Now I know what to do. I'm going to shut all the motors off at the same time. So when it does that, it doesn't death roll. It kind of falls like a leaf. Like, especially if you're flat or if you're inverted, it'll literally like leaf on the way down. So you'll see that very obviously in your goggles. So it'll usually just kind of like sometimes it'll fall flat. It's pretty rare. Usually it'll start to arm over, but it's a whole different thing. It's not a death roll. So that's the easiest way to tell. I know a lot of people don't know that. I'm going to try to mention that on every stream. That's how you tell between a failsafe and some sort of a desync. Twitching is kind of hard. First thing we're going to look at is the motors. Look at all the stupid little things that could be wrong. Look for screws that are touching the windings. Look for a break in the wires. Feel the wires in your fingers. Then look at the ESC. You're probably not going to find anything on the ESC side, but on the motor side, you very well might. Next is, what motors are you running? Are they very notchy motors? Sometimes twitching can be caused by the flight controller and the error correction loop just getting overwhelmed by there being too much vibrations getting up into the gyro. My preferred way to fix that is physically with hardware. If you don't fix that physically with hardware, you have to cripple your tune, right? You have to drop your tune down so that it's not trying as hard to fix things, and then your rig feels like shit, right? And it flies like shit. So I hate solving that way. You might be able to, if that's the problem. If the problem is that there are too many vibrations getting in, technically you could maybe tune it out, but that's not the solution in my opinion. So check your motors, see how notchy they are. Here's the big thing though. Check your soft mounting on your flight controller. Speaking of soft mounting, never soft mount your motors. Never, in my experience, works. It always causes more problems than it solves. The soft mounting on your flight controller, especially on a micro, has to be good. You should be able to take your flight controller on the soft mounting and push on it without a lot of force and see that it's moving. If it's like locked in, and if you can't see your ESC moving when you push on it with your finger a little bit, figure out a way to get it a little bit looser. You don't want it so loose that it can wobble around in there. Something you got to be careful with on the Acrobee is so Tommy's got those grommets in the frame, right? And then you run a big long screw up through them for your stack. If you just put the grommet and then a screw, and then you just start to put your spacers in the stack, the whole stack can kind of parallelogram around. What you want to make sure you do, and the reason why Tommy includes little washers, is you want to put your grommet, you want to put a washer on the bottom, because you want to increase the amount of contact area where that screw is coming up from the bottom, right? And then you want to put a washer on top. And then on top of that, you're going to put something that's threaded. It's actually really important to do this because by doing this, with whatever that thing is threaded up here, you can adjust the tightness that those grommets have. And that's important. You want to get those grommets tight enough to where the whole stack doesn't parallelogram around, because when it does that, it creates its own vibrations, and that's not good. So if you're running frame grommets on any build, you want to make sure that you have an ability to tighten up the amount of force on that grommet so that you can control that vertical, you kind of like building a skyscraper, I guess, or something. You want to be able to control those vertical screws to where the whole stack's not moving around. And ideally, your flight controller also is going to be on grommets. So if that's the case, you can kind of crank these down good so that you get a little bit of movement there, and then you get a little bit of movement on the flight controller as well. So that is what I would recommend. I see you guys talking about MPUs and ICMs. That is the excellent point. That's the other thing. You want MPU 6000 gyros. You don't want 32K ICM gyros. That being said, supposedly, and I have limited experience with this, but supposedly the new ICM gyros are fine, but there's only one that's fine. And I'm looking it up right now for you. So, write this down. The ICM gyro that I have had okay luck with good luck with. It seems to fly just as good as the MPU 6000 on a 5-inch. I haven't done this on micros yet, so it might be different on micros. I'm not going to speak to that, but I think we're okay. I've heard from people I trust that the noise floor, which is the problem with the ICM gyros, the noise floor is too high because they're 32K. I've heard from people that I trust that the noise floor on this new ICM gyro is very, very similar, if not the same, to an MPU 6000. It's really good news because the MPU 6000s are supposedly discontinued. That being said, I'm buying up as many MPU 6000s as I possibly can right now. Flight controllers with them, because I think that mechanically, it running at 8K, it's going to last longer than a gyro running at 32K. But if your gyro is an ICM, supposedly, if it's a 20602, that's the number. Let me type it into the chat. ICM 20602. Supposedly, that's the one that is finally okay. Let me just double check it. 6-axis ICM 20602 32K gyro. Yep. So that's the one that Heli Nation is putting into the Talon F7. Well, it's what they put a single one of them on the initial Talon F7. Now, the new Talon F7, you have a choice. MPU 6000, those are the ones that I buy. Or a dual gyro with the 20602. I prefer the MPU. And I literally think that... So inside of a gyro, there are little things that move around to detect the motion. And at 8K, they move at that, whatever the hell that velocity is of 8K. At 32K, they move 4 times faster, right? Because it's 32K. And they are not invincible. They're physical things moving. So my theory is that at 8K, it'll last 4 times as long. Where that goes out the window is when we hit something hard and we put a G spike of like 3, 4, 5, 600 Gs into the damn things, and the gyro just implodes anyway. So maybe it's not a new gyro explosive. It's just like, I think the ICM gyros just went through multiple versions, and eventually we found one that didn't have such a hard time with the noise floor. But there are other ICM gyros that are unflyable. My experience with ICM gyros outside of this one is that they are completely unflyable and just stay the hell away from them. And that's kind of still where I'm at. Like, the MPU 6000 is great, and that's what I want. But, yeah, this 20602 has been in a 5-inch rig of mine that was locked in, crazy PID tune, RPM filters, like gnarly, killer, fantastic. What'd you send me, Jim? Is it good? All right. Think, oh no, let me hit a couple questions, and then, all right, so 8 minutes of questions, and that's it. 125 still in here. You guys are fucking awesome. I'm very, very, very appreciative of you guys. It's hard to put it into words, but you guys hanging out and believing in me and supporting me is it's really, really special, and I really can't thank you guys enough for that. Charlotte asks, this was a while ago. Sorry, Charlotte. With 5 CHF dollars, Talent F. Oh, I hope you're still here, Charlotte, because we just covered it. Yeah, MPU 6000. He asked Talent F7 Fusion or MPU 6000. He's from Australia but lives in the Swiss Alps. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. My God, the Swiss Alps. What are you talking to me for? Get the hell out there and fly, brother. Holy shit. I want to see some long-range stuff. Woo! Okay. So, we took care of that one. And let me do something real quick here. Oh, what's happening? There we go. Okay, got it. Next is a question from KTMJ. Prototype CB3 with detachable arms, and it's a tank, and he loves it. Ooh, nice. KTM, you're in a small club of people that have the ever-elusive V3 CB3 prototype. Right. Euro, can't wait for my frame. You and me both. Full CT. You're welcome for the candor, brother. We got to work together. It's the only way we're going to do anything with it. Mech says, awesome goals. Thank you, brother. Oh, that's interesting. So that's what you just sent me, Jim. So Jim calls out Michael Rollins' video today with Chad N. It's Chad N. Oh, Noack, right. Yeah. So Chad's dad and I actually have talked at length about it. I never ended up linking up with Chad Noack, but yeah, Chad suffers quite a bit. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Very cool. I don't typically love Michael's videos, to be honest with you guys. I get what he's doing, but I don't know. It's a little bit too on the nose. Like, let's just create drama for me. I wish there was more of an emphasis on just the way the other guys, the FPV show and Fly Life and that style of interview is much more relevant for me. I want the drama out. So, like, if I'm going to do an interview with somebody or listen to an interview with somebody, I want it to hit every topic other than the drama topic, right? Because it just drives me insane, and I just don't think there's any point. So, yeah. But I will check that one out for sure. Great Golden Spoon, I hope I got you the therapy link. I did. There it is. Okay, great. Pile of Carbon, thank you. Chainsaw, hit me up. We'll talk for sure. Nice. Love it, Chainsaw. Very, very cool. FPV is great for PTSD. If any of you guys have any connections with people with PTSD or PTSD organizations, figure out a way to get FPV in front of them. It is one of the problems with PTSD is you live in a universe with a huge amount of stress and adrenaline, and then that gets taken away, but your brain has already adjusted to it. FPV is about the biggest, safest adrenaline dump I've ever been able to find, and that is what a lot of folks with PTSD need. So yeah, that's important. PTSD is something that I don't have, and I know people that do, and it sucks real bad. So yeah, be kind to people that are struggling. You don't know what they got going on. I know it's easy to just say, hey, you're a fucking asshole, but sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they're just having a real shitty day and or life. Okay, blasting through the rest of these chats. 3 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap it up. Again, thanks for hanging, guys. You rule. SpeedX IS35A says Blitz FPV is a 20x20 ESC and Maytech F411 20x20 good enough to run a 5-inch racer. Maytech F411 is an amazing flight controller that I ran for a long time. It's $25. You cannot beat it for the price. It's got, one of my favorite things about it is that it has pads for the motor signal wires, so you don't have to use the stupid plug header thing, or if the plug header, not even if, when the plug header breaks, because eventually it will break, you haven't bricked the flight controller. The only problem and the only reason why I no longer suggest the Maytech F411, I suggested it for years, is that the F4 processor on there is an F411 processor rather than being an F405 processor, and the F411 processor is less powerful, which gives it potential problems with RPM filtering. This quad, believe it or not, right here, which is on RPM filtering with at 4K, D-Shot 300. Yep, D-Shot 300. This rig works with the RPM filters on. I didn't think it would, because when you look at the tasks, it is over the recommended like 80% total usage on the tasks, but I flew a bunch of batteries on this before blowing it up, and the flight controller was totally fine. In the end, I blew the flight controller up by sending VBAT through one of the motor signal wires like an idiot, because I checked and double checked and triple checked it, but I fucked up. We break shit sometimes, even people that have done 100 builds. So when on your 4th build, when you've blown all 4 up, don't feel bad. I blew up 2 yet. Well, I fixed the one, but I blew up 2 flight controllers in a week. So it still happens. SpeedX IS35A is an interesting ESC because it supports up to 5S. One of the first small 20x20 ESCs that supports 5S. Micro 20x20 flight controllers, in my opinion, should be no bigger than this. And the easiest thing to think about is your 20x20 holes are here, and there's just a little bit of material outside of them. Just a little bit. Not much. Just a little bit. This is the size that all the microframes were built to accept. So when you go and spend $80 and then lose the fucking thing, although it's not $80, but where is it? When you spend more than $20 on more than $30 or $40 on a 20x20 ESC, you know, $50, $60, $70, it's going to be huge. Look at the, I got to fix the focus again. Look at the difference in size between this regular old 20x20 flight controller and this 20x20 ESC. And on a micro build, this ESC is a bastard to try to fit because they're tight. Micro builds have to be light, and so they're tight. So when you're looking for ESCs for a micro, be very cognizant of that. Make sure it's a smaller ESC. There are some really good ones. My favorite, link down there, is the SpeedX GS25. 25 amps is plenty for any micro. The only problem with it is it only goes up to 4S. The new line of SpeedX ESCs finally go up to 5S, but there's not a 32-bit version. The GS25 right now is very cheap, and it's 32-bit, which is awesome. For future proofing, I'm trying to stay with 32-bit. Yes, Joe Lucid's firmware and the new BL Heli firmware make BL Heli S work with RPM filtering, but BL Heli 32 is faster. The end. No questioning that. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to a SpeedX GS30, GS35, whatever they're going to call it, 32-bit that goes up to 5S. There you go. Great suggestion, though, Blitz. Those are totally proven rigs, and you can absolutely run a racer on them, 5-inch racer on them. Spudnik digs the BNF upgrading series. Me too. Full CT weighing in on the importance of reviewer skill level. Goddamn right. for the most part, if somebody doesn't fly like close to my level or better than my level, there's got to be a really good reason for me to like fully listen to what they're saying, because I truly do believe that like stick time means so much with tuning too. My God, tuning is just a constant moving target as you get better and better and better. Explosive Fruits asking if I'm going to do an Australian stream, what time would that need to be? Explosive. I've been to Australia after high school, but yeah, what time would you want that to be? Probably not, to be honest with you, because 2 streams a week and now this Discord Wednesday night thing, and then I try to do a rando stream during the week is a lot. I need to be careful that I can already see the streaming, which I love, and this is so fun for me, and it's actually more fun for me than building, but I've noticed that my repairing has gotten way behind. I'm like 6 rigs in the hole right now that need repairs. So I just have to be careful. I don't want to overextend myself on one part of this and start like not flying. I still want, just personally for me, I want piloting to be at the top. That's the thing that's the most fun for me, and that's the thing that I think I have the chance of being into for the longest. And to be totally candid with you guys, I think there's going to be some unbelievable, it's a weird way to say it, but business opportunities in FPV piloting in the film and TV industry. I think we were just now starting to scratch the surface, and I'm hoping and have a funny feeling that like 2 years from now, the top, let's say 50 FPV pilots maybe in the US are going to be able to make $1,000+ a day gigs. Could be 10 grand a day gigs. Yeah, we'll see. Sean asking if CT means Connecticut. I'm not sure, but CT probably answered that. Everybody go to fpvcycle.com. Kebab's sending me some cool shit. His stuff is the best you can find. Full CT, talking about lighting with Sean. Sean, if you have lighting questions, hit me up, or anybody else. Or photography. You know, I've done one rando stream, doing photo editing in Lightroom. I've been into photography for ever since college, so 15+ years. If you guys are interested in photography, let me know, because I'll totally do. I am like 10 years in the hole with photography, because I don't hate editing, but it's way more fun to take pictures than to edit pictures for me. So, but I have a very efficient workflow. I actually did photography and photo editing kind of sort of professionally for a little over a year. So I have a really good workflow. If you guys are interested in stills, let me know. I don't know the hardware side of it. I'm way behind the times on what the best gear is nowadays, but I'm also a very firm believer that gear doesn't make a shit bit of difference. I have a DSLR from about 10 years ago, and it takes images that blow people's minds. So, and you can buy one of these for like $50 on Craigslist. It's a Canon SL1. So yeah, if you guys have any interest whatsoever in stills and photography, let me know, or lighting. I love that shit. It is just so fun. Explosive Fruits says, make a permanent link for Discord. I thought that's what I did. I thought the link down here in the description said it was a permanent Discord link. If it's not, and or if you guys know how to do it, let me know, because I'm a total Discord noob. Omar has the newbie drone brushless, and it's been great so far. Awesome. Omar, if you're still here, how many batteries in are you? And you're going to be my guy. Keep me on every one of these streams. I want to see you giving me an update on how many batteries in you are, and if it's still working for you, or if you started to see any of the twitches that I've been getting, and a lot of the testers have been getting. Explosive Fruits asking about the hybrid on the Acrobee. Yep, it's going to Duo. ESK Race, now I have to try the RPMs on them. Would they run cooler, do you think? Absolutely. The big thing that RPM filtering does is bring the motor temperature down, which allows you to go ballistic on the PID tune. The amount of aggression that you can now put into a clean built rig, you can put into the PID tune of a cleanly built rig on RPM filters is ridiculous. Like, for the first time ever, I can now put a PID tune that is more aggressive than I want. I have always been at the limit of the tune and the filtering and the clean gyro data, that I would just be at the limit. And my tunes were as far as I could push them before motor heat became a problem. But now I can literally push P gains up into the 90s and the 100s, D gains up into the 80s and the 90s, and at that point it is overtuned for the way that I fly and for the way that I want it to feel. Overtuned used to be a word describing quads that had P's and D's that were so high that it would oscillate. Right, full throttle, you'd hear oscillations. You'd have jello, mid throttle oscillation issues. But RPM filters have kind of changed the definition of that word. You can now have a quad that's perfectly smooth, but it's overtuned in the sense that there's too much P gain. And when you slam the throttle, the stick to the side, it reacts way too hard for you. And that's pretty cool, because that means fully that in Betaflight you can get your PID tune only based on the way you want it to feel. That in everything else that doesn't have D-min, feed forward, iTerm relax, RPM filters, you can't do that. It's a big compromise. Everything on the PID tune is a compromise everywhere else. And it is not like that with Betaflight anymore, and that is pretty fucking cool, because we haven't paid a dime for Betaflight. So suck on that. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here in a second. Lead Sled, we talked about the yaw twitch, awesome. Great Golden Spoon asking about lens coatings or covers for fog or dust. Looking at cat crap used for fire unboxes. Yeah, I have. I always have cat crap handy. I used to have to use this when I played airsoft on my goggles, on the insides of my goggles. Hell, I had goggles with a fan in them, like a little computer fan, just like our Fat Sharks, and I would also have to use this stuff just because we'd be working so hard, just pouring sweat into our faces, that we couldn't get the fog off of them. I've always wanted to, like, if I ever do a snow shoot or a shoot I know is going to be in the rain, hell yeah, get cat crap on every piece of glass, including your diopters. That you'd have to be really careful with that though. But yeah, I would put cat crap on everything. Or cat crap lasts a little bit longer because it's wax based, but you can also use Rain-X fog specific. It's a black bottle. Rain-X is usually yellow bottles. But in any automotive store, or maybe even like a department store, like a Target maybe, there is a specific formula of Rain-X for the inside of your windshield. It's in a black bottle. It's called like Rain-X for fog or Fog-X or something like that. That works almost as good as cat crap. It just doesn't last as long. And yeah, it makes a huge difference. You put that on a lens surface and the water will fling right off of it. So good call. Yeah, I've had this here in my box to remind me to do it, and I haven't remembered, so maybe I finally will. David Noose would love to see a duo build. Well, you're going to see it. Sean Hales says, oh boy, Sean Hales has the king of the fat grow brats, apparently. 324 grams with an R-Line 850 tattoo, Zing 1507's. It's a beast, even carries a session pretty well. Yeah, those 1507's make a whole hell of a lot of torque. It's staggering. Hey, Chris, I think somebody that I was looking for one of the giveaways just messaged me. If you did, thank you. This brings us to the last few questions. Or not, because YouTube did the thing where... No, okay, 5 more questions. Steve Colts loves the knowledge. Love you hanging out and appreciating the knowledge, Steve. Come back anytime. Stephen Kuntz also says, trauma at my degree. Trauma at any degree. Trauma? Trauma at any degree. I guess we were talking about mental health. Oh, yeah, right. PTSD. Yeah, trauma at any level, for sure. I know that all too well. Not for myself, but from loved ones. Off-axis FPV. Any tips on why he struggles with getting the receiver tab? With getting the receiver tab to get his transmitter to be recognized, even though bind did work and the motors spin up and everything else works. Great question, Off-axis. We're gonna take a big step back. Oh God. I did.
Oh no.
Time to end the stream before I get injured. Big step back, right? So, receiver tab is being fed by, trace it right back, all right? You plug in a USB cord. That talks to the flight controller. Betaflight is over here on the computer. It is talking to the flight controller, and it is asking the flight controller, hey, do you have any throttle input, roll input, switch input, blah, 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 blah. And if your bars aren't moving, the flight controller is saying, no, I don't have any of that data, right? You mentioned binding. This is why I'm taking you step by step. Your receiver is all the way back here. Your receiver has antennas. Those antennas link up to your transmitter. When you bind your receiver to your transmitter, it's all that's happening. It's got nothing to do up here. It's just the fact that your receiver, all you know by the fact that it binds is that your receiver is getting power and that the protocol between your receiver and your transmitter is sound, and they're able to talk to one another. So, you can probably already guess this, but your problem is between the two. There's something going on between the flight controller and the receiver. Either they could just not be plugged in, or you could have like the protocol set wrong. Like if you're on S-Bus and you have it set to like I-Bus or something like that, that could be the problem. So that's your troubleshoot. By the fact that you've gotten it to bind, you know that the receiver is hooking up to your transmitter. By the fact that you plug your flight controller into Betaflight, you know that the flight controller is not getting the signals, or it's not getting the signals that it expects, right, from the receiver for it to make those bars dance. So there's your troubleshoot. If that still doesn't fix it and you're still having problems, message me wherever you want. If you're super cool, like a bunch of the other folks in here, hop on Patreon, give me at least 10 cents a day, and we'll talk on there. One or two more. Off-axis is using the X4R on the Diatone F1505FC. So if you expound on that troubleshoot, maybe the pad, like, we know that it's a connection issue, right? Maybe it's on the wrong pad. Maybe that pad is lifted. Maybe that wire's right. Whenever I troubleshoot with you guys, I want to try to put you in my head, because it's so easy to just like tunnel vision on one part of it, and it fucking drives you crazy. And like, you will literally want to quit the hobby. I have wanted to quit this hobby 4 or 5 times, and it's because of that. Now that I troubleshoot from a more holistic standpoint, and like I said, take a big step back, I can always figure it out. Or I can always at least figure out where the hell it's happening and go, fuck you, I'm just going to replace everything in this little area. And then that'll fix the problem. So there you go. And it looks like you guys are talking about S-Bus, and cool. Thanks, guys. All right. I think there was one more, or there's 4 more. Doc Murdoch almost took the big... Oh, yes. I almost took the big plunge. Off-axis says S-Bus and the UARTs are correct. Steve thanking me for your work. Thank you for hanging, Steve. Wouldn't be able to do it without you and everybody else in here. Off-axis is going to Patreon this Friday. Very cool. Try that thought approach to this, to the troubleshoot. There are other pads on the flight controller that you can link up to. Yeah, Wicked Sticks is right. It's usually the simple fix. This is the other reason why you want to step back, because 9 times out of 10, the fix is right fucking there staring you, but you were looking right over here. So there you guys go. Awesome questions as always. You guys are just the best. Come hang out with me on Discord, Facebook, Patreon, Instagram. I'm getting into the long form stuff on Instagram. There's what's it called? IG Direct, IGTV. I dumped a raw edit from New Year's Day of the Johnny FPV reverse wall ride building onto Instagram long format, which is kind of cool. So I'm gonna start farting around with that. I'm just gonna dump all my edits on there because why not? Including my old stuff. I might go chronologically. You guys want to talk about being a shitty pilot? You get to see how shitty I was. I'll start putting like the very first thing I ever filmed. Here's a fun fact. Here's how stubborn I am, I guess you could say. My first couple edits are my iPhone at the time. All right, so I bought box goggles, $60 box goggles, Ishin 007 Pros. And then eventually I wanted ride-along goggles, so I found Gen 1 Fat Sharks, the old dark gray ones, for like $60. They were horrible. Like the little screens are like postage stamps. They look absolutely awful. They were so hard to fly through. But I was so hell-bent on getting stuff up. You should be too. That's what she said. I took myself, I would go out and fly with the shitty goggles, and then I would take the box goggles because they had the nice big screen in them, and I would take my cell phone and I put it and just angle it just right and in there to shoot at the screen and the box goggles, and then I would take it had to be a black one, I would take a black microfiber and I would drape it over top so there'd be no light leak on the back, and I get it going, and everything would get very hot in there, so I'd have to be fast. And then I would fly battery as quickly as I could through these horrible goggles. I couldn't see where the hell I was going, but I was able to collect DVR. Those goggles didn't have DVR, and then eventually I spent the $16 on a little DVR box and put it on them. But I got into this hobby when I had no money. I was unemployed, and yeah, still made it work. And you should too. Get your shit on your YouTube channel. People will watch it, and you will love it, and it will just build another side of this hobby. Not to mention that learning and knowing how to edit is a really cool skill. You can make cool presents for people that are way more meaningful than a greeting card with a $50 bill in them. There you guys go. There's the GOAT, Marcel Roberts, with some nice words. You're welcome for everything. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Doc Murdoch. Thanks, everybody else that's in here. I'm out. Tomorrow night I'll be back at 10 o'clock Eastern U.S. time. We're going to do 5 giveaways. There's going to be a $100+ frame in there on the 5-inch tier. There's your secret for staying till the end. And yeah, look me up all over the place. Click whatever the hell buttons you want to click down here. I figured out for sure what the bell button does. I did the bell button on Joshua next to the subscribe. And then when Joshua's stream went live, YouTube app on my phone put a specific message on my home screen, right? Like it dinged my phone and told me that his stream was going up. So that was pretty awesome. So that's cool for the rando streams, because I do these like wacky 7 o'clock on a Thursday streams. So if you want to get to all my streams, I think the little bell thing is your way to go. It works. All right, guys, be good. Get out and fly. Is it dark already? Yeah, it's dark already. Get out and fly tomorrow. Go out and fly on your lunch break. Do whatever it takes to get out there and get that beautiful stick time, man. You guys are awesome. My name's Aaron Ciotti. If you don't call me Ciotti, I'll come to your house and attack you. I'll see you beautiful bastards later.